Hello, good evening, and welcome to the live stream, everybody. It's been a little while since we've done one of these AMAs, live Q&As. Hello, Michael Thacker. Probably the first time YouTube notified. Great, the notification worked. You just can't ever tell. Sometimes on those notifications things, sometimes the notifications are set in the app just right, and then you got to set it on your phone or whatever. But thank you for coming by. And hail and hello, Facebook user. If you're catching this in the Highlung group and I can't see your name because of the StreamYard software doesn't reveal that in private Facebook groups, but hail and hello to you. Good to see you. Thanks for coming to the live stream tonight. We're going to have another guest. So for all of the Facebook watchers in the Highlung group, Patrick will be joining me here soon, and we're going to be chatting for a bit. And for everyone on the Midgard Musings Facebook page, hail and hello to you, and also to the YouTube folks. So good to be here to chat with you all tonight and spend a little bit of time just kind of relaxing. Let me know what's on your mind if you have any questions or anything that you got coming up here. I know in 2 weeks' time, actually just less than 2 weeks' time, myself and any other historical focused types of heathens will be observing our Yule celebration. So we're very much looking forward to that in less than 2 weeks. Hello, John. Hail and hello to you, sir. Thanks for coming by, saying hello to us all. Let me know where we're all tuning in from. If you're watching from the Facebook group, let me know where in Midgard you are. If you're on the page there on Midgard Musings, drop a comment down below and let me know where you're coming from. And Patrick is going to join us now, so let's get him on here, and so that way he can say hello to everybody. There he is.
Hey,
What's up,
hello,
man?
everybody. Hey, how's it going?
What's up?
Oh, same shit, different day, man. Same shit, different
Yeah,
day.
thanks for hopping on here with us.
Well, thank you for the invitation. Appreciate
Got
that.
somebody here in Georgia watching. That's in the Highlung group because this is Facebook user. We got John in Orlando, of course.
Hi, guys.
What's up there? We got Kate in Ohio. Michael's in Kentucky. What's up there? Yeah. So we got a few people on the YouTube. We got a few people here on Facebook, and we're just out here, just kind of enjoying a chill Friday night. Here to talk about stuff in the topic conversations that you guys want to bring up. New Jersey all day. All right.
Oh,
Another
Jersey.
northeasterner, man. Those scumbags. No, I'm just kidding. I'm from New York. I can say it. I'm allowed.
Touch that one, so.
Yeah. You stay over there and what's it? The show me
Missouri,
how you
yeah, Missouri.
show me how you shut up on this one. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh.
And how was your week, buddy?
Oh, geez. Honest answer, tricky, challenging, and eye-opening, to say the
Yeah?
least. Yeah. How's your week?
Yeah, relatively uneventful in terms of been getting a lot of rain and stuff here this week. So like going
Same
out during
here.
the day has been kind of challenging. We got someone there in Oklahoma. That's one of your neighbors out there, sort of,
Yeah, relatively.
relatively speaking. I mean, I guess we're all neighbors in some sort of way.
And sunshine, yeah.
But yeah, no, I didn't. It's going to be getting real cold here soon. I
Oh,
think
yeah.
all
Same
this
here.
weather is bringing in some actual winter temperatures and potential winter weather. I think Sunday night, Monday, and into Tuesday, they're calling for possibilities of ice and snow and stuff out here.
Wow.
So, yeah,
We've been severely lacking snow for quite some time. Like,
I'm
anytime
telling
we
you,
get
right?
snow, it's like a mere dusting.
You had a little bit of frosty
little
white
bit,
stuff on the
yeah.
ground up there the other day, didn't you?
Yeah, a few people I've seen my posts the other day. I went down to one of my sacred places, and it was just very beautiful, but at the same time, I've told numerous people, it's like my ultimate goal is to come down there when it's snowing. and
Oh
get some
yeah.
really badass pictures in this beautiful place. Anyone who hasn't seen my pictures, I highly recommend you check it out. My Facebook group as well as my own page. Really beautiful spot. A cool story about that spot though is I discovered it on accident. So one
Hmm.
time, there's this place nearby. It's a bush wildlife preserve, and it spans like several miles. And I only visited one spot in particular, um, called the hiking biking trail. So one day, I was still familiar or getting familiar with this place, and I used my GPS to lead. Well, one time I took a wrong turn, so my GPS just kind of guided me through the way.
Uh-huh.
And then I'm driving, and then all of a sudden I see this beautiful spot on the horizon. I'm like, whoa, 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 wait a second. Wait
Hmm.
a second.
What have we have here? What do we have
Exactly. And
here? Yeah.
I walk further into the space. I'm like, this place is fucking incredible. I need to be here. I need to spend more time. So ever since then, I've been visiting, building some really cool places, finding myself in a very sacred place.
You're making another one of your lean-to structures, aren't you?
Yes, my shelter, I guess is what I've come
Shelters.
to call it. Yeah, I call it a
Yeah.
shelter because that's what it is. But ultimately,
Yeah.
though, what it is just a place for me to find myself, love myself,
Mm.
and discover myself. So it's a spiritual place, very spiritual
Yeah.
place,
All them pine trees and stuff. I bet it's so quiet and
very therapeutic too,
yeah,
extremely.
I saw your um drum video, and it was like I didn't hear any traffic noise, because sometimes,
Nothing.
yeah. So you must be far enough off of the main road or any of the roads there that keeps you from getting that noise pollution, right?
Yeah, it's quite nice. It's
Sounds
about
like
like about a 25-minute drive. Honestly, most of the time I drive there, it doesn't seem like 25 minutes. It seems like 10 minutes at best
yeah,
sometimes.
yeah. That's
Or
great,
other
man.
times,
So,
if I'm in a hurry, though, I'm trying to get there as soon as possible, especially at this time of year since the sun's going down so soon. Like, I get off work at 3 o'clock and I'm just rushing, trying to
oh
get there
yeah,
as soon as possible. And it's like a race against time. So
yeah. Like
those
you're
car trips, yeah, those car trips seem like an hour. I'm like, come on, can I get there any faster? Come on, damn
yeah,
it.
burning daylight.
Exactly, quite literally. Yes, I son of a bitch, but I do what I can.
Yeah, I'm kind of fortunate to have the battlefield and the river. Just I mean, the trails that I found this past week around the battlefield there, I
Yeah.
hadn't been like I'd been all and around that area, but I didn't know that there were trails that I didn't know there was all that back there because it's kind of off of the main drag of the like the driving paths and stuff that go around the battlefield. But it's
That's
less than
kind
a
of how it is.
mile down the road from where I
That's
live,
kind of how it is
from
with
my house.
that's kind of how it is at Bush Wildlife too, because there's so many parts of this place I have not discovered yet. And I'm doing my due diligence not to, because I want to have something to explore later on.
Yeah.
If I When I get tired of the pine spot, which I doubt will happen anytime soon, since they build a new structure, which by the way is going to be like 3 times or twice as big as my original one. It's going to take a long time to build, and I'm very happy that so far nobody has fucked with it yet. And I stress yet.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why anyone would, man. Like, if anything, they would
Exactly.
like use it. I mean, like, kind of
Well, I've
use it
seen that
when
too.
it's.
As I told you that story, a really great story for anyone who's watching. So I built this place, and I just did it just for me. Just I need somewhere to go to find myself and be myself. And then a few weeks later, that's a funny story too. Behind the funny story is I went one day to visit my sacred spot, and then I see, thank you. Yep, that's it right there.
Yeah,
There she be. This is not the current state of this progress, but it's close enough.
yeah.
But
This is the one that you built a while back, and you've been
yes,
maintaining and keeping up, and it's yeah. You've had it up for how many months now, and it's
for a
looking
couple
basically
months,
like
yeah,
that. Yeah.
for a couple months. And so one day I went down there to visit my spot, and then I see some. So I see a car outside the spot. I'm like, oh, son of a bitch. So I walk into the spot and I see Anthony walking. I'm like, huh, that's weird. They must be deep into the path. Walk further up and I walk to my structure. And then I see 3 guys sitting in the spot smoking some
Mm.
some wacky tobacco, and I see one guy at the pot leaf hat. I'm like, oh, I guess you guys had the same idea. We all started laughing, and then one guy in the background's like, hey, did you build this place? I'm like, yeah. Then they all got out. They're like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit.
Oh,
I'm like,
nice.
yeah, it's cool. I'm like, don't move, you're good, you're good. But they all came out and we're talking, and then one of the guys told me, he goes, one guy came out there when they went to go visit the spot, and they saw a guy painting a picture of
Yeah.
my spot. I mean,
Oh
I'm
man.
never telling you about that, but this is very
Yeah.
humbling and very honoring to have someone feel so inspired by to build, like to create something that I built.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
fucking amazing.
Is it warm? Somebody was asking if
It
the
is,
structure
yeah,
inside
yeah.
is warm.
Surprisingly, it is. So the other day I went there when it was raining and snowing, and fortunately, on my right hand side of the fort or shelter, I laid there, and I was dry. I was very dry. It was a good spot. So I've done good
Nice.
weather-wise so far. Now, if it's torrential downpour, it could do okay at
Yeah.
best. Great
Yeah.
question, though.
Yeah. What's up, Joshua? Good to see you there, man.
Hey, how's it
Yeah.
going?
If I was out there, man, I'd be probably camping out there if I could.
Oh,
Like,
it's tempting. But the only another thing about the spot I didn't tell you yet. So this area, apparently the gates close at 10 o'clock at night.
oh wow, that's late.
It is late, but me with OCD and anxiety, it says 10 o'clock the gates close, but
Oh
typically
yeah.
everybody's gone by sundown.
Yeah. Exactly.
There's
I'll
always
tell you a
that.
funny story here in a second. When I catch up on some comments, I have a
Yeah, you're
story
good.
about something like that.
But yeah, like
Um,
I'm just so
yeah, look,
nervous to stay
Sale.
longer than what I do. But yeah.
What's up, No? No. It says, hail Patrick and Jesse. I have a question for Jesse. Donheim or Heilung?
Oh, you got to answer right here.
It's funny. I mean, I love them both, obviously, but I think if I had to be pressured into a corner to pick one, it would be Heilung. I mean, because I've seen them live, and the experience, and just I don't know. It touches more. It touches me more than, like, I love Donheim. Don't get me wrong, but
Yeah.
I think if I had to get pushed into a corner and pick one, it would be Heilung. Building a
mainly because
shelter. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, mainly also another important thing for him to mention, to notice, is a member of Heilong noticed you, specifically Jesse.
Yeah.
Mira.
Yeah,
So
Mira.
that
Yeah.
might have some influence with that too. A very awesome musician. Anyone who's interested in watching this,
Mira
her
Ketty.
name is Mira Seti. Check out her music on Bandcamp. Great,
Yes.
great stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Voodoo Vikings is building the shelter on an old old lean-to shelter out of a old horse barn. Put your futon mattress in there, cook off a cast iron, enjoy the pond. Sounds lovely.
It does.
Ellen, hello to you there. Facebook user still showing up. The mystery Facebook users of the private Facebook groups. There is a setting thing that you can go to through StreamYard to unblock it. I thought I sent it out in like the instructions for anybody in the Facebook group, but maybe not. We got Cliff on in the Facebook group.
Oh, Cliff.
What's up, Cliff? What's happening? What's happening? But yeah, no. So talk about the gate thing, right? You're talking about how they close their gates at 10 o'clock, but a lot of
So
people are
they close it
leaving
at 10.
beforehand.
Close
Close the gates at 10.
When I first
Uh,
discovered this place,
Mhm.
any place I visit, I like to see the hours of operation. And
Right.
then I see comments and replies and whatnot. So I saw one comment. It had a picture
Mhm.
of a gate being closed. This person stayed later than they were supposed to.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not sure what time of year it was or what's all happening, but they got locked out.
Yeah. Yep.
It's a shit show, to say the least. Like, you have to go call a couple numbers, and it turns into this whole ordeal. Like, I don't even want to fuck with that ever happening. So I never
So-
see later than like 5:30.
So
I
there's
wanna see later.
there's a entrance to the battlefield down the road from my house that so there's different entrances. There's different parts of the battlefield, different certain got Matthew Sarah there in the group also.
Hey, what's up, Matthew?
What's up? We got the one that I went to one time. Yeah, it's the McFadden Farms entrance, and there's like monuments and stuff about the battles and all that took place there. Anyway, I drove in there, parked my car, sat for a while, and I took note of the entrance where it says gates close at 6, I think, or 5. It was like 5 or 6,
Right.
like that. And I was there, and it was like 3, a little after 3 in the afternoon. You know what I mean? I stayed there for like an hour and a half. So I was at least 30 minutes to an hour trying to leave the park before that said that when the gates would close. And I'm pulling out, and the sun's going down. It wasn't completely dark. It was like dusk. And
Yeah.
I pull up to, and the gates closed.
Oh no.
So I'm like, on the left hand, like on the left hand side of the gate, there are these like posts and stuff to keep vehicles from driving through. But the posts are wide enough, I think, for a small car, and I have a Corolla, So I mean, I'm like, maybe I can squeeze through there. So I'm like, but the way that it's positioned, there's like this really like probably 20 to 25 degree angle hill. So I'm like, well, I'm going to be slanted, so that's going to change the width of my car, everything. I'm trying to like do all this like quick maths, calculating it out. I'm like, yeah, with this, man. I'm like, let me just call, city non-emergency, police department and be
That's
like,
exactly
hey,
what the steps are to do this.
I don't know who to call. I said, but the gate says that they close at 5, and it was like, I think they said the gates closed at 6, and it was like 4 o'clock, or 4:30.
Okay.
Just when it was starting to get dark.
You can't trust it.
And I'm like, so I said, I'm trying to leave before the time that the gates say that they're going to close, but I can't. I'm locked in here. I'm like, I literally live like from where I was. I could have parked my car there overnight and walked back to the house. Would have taken me like 30 minutes. But I'm like, can you maybe call somebody and get them to undo this gate? So here comes MPD, the Murfreesboro Police. They don't have any way of getting in, and I'm like, and they're like, so they start to call some people. And they're like, is there a code or something to get this gate open? Because there was like a numbers pad on there, you know what I'm saying?
Oh my god.
And there's like, is there a code? So again, I'm here, we're there. It was like 30 minutes go by. He's on the phone with somebody. He says to me, they say it's motion censored if you just pull up to it. So I do. And I mean, I literally pull up to where the front bumper was about to touch the front fender was about to touch the bumper of the gate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nothing's happening. So like I back up, and then wouldn't you know, once I did that up to the thing and then backed up, here go the gates open.
No way.
This whole
Son of a bitch.
This whole time.
Fuck that. Fuck that shit. That's fucking ignorant.
This whole time I'm like, I could have done this myself,
bullshit.
but yeah, for no reason. And I'm like, maybe they should change the sign or change the, when this thing is on, because it's probably on like a timer, Camping out.
The spot though, they're pretty adamant about 10 o'clock for whatever reason. So one day, I just need a progression of things. So, like I said, I typically stay until 5:30. One day, I'll stay until 6,
Mm-hmm.
and the next day 6:30. Then the next day 7:30. But I don't see myself staying there past. Like realistically, I can't see myself staying there more than 8 o'clock at night. It's just, what am I going to do there? I mean, granted, there's some great ideas I have. Like make a nice fire, but also that's another problem with the area is I highly discourage anyone like those guys I told you about.
Mm.
They're a little younger than me, like more or less like college age, I guess.
Okay.
I'm like, hey guys, thank you for appreciating my spot, whatnot. Just PSA, don't make any fires here. You can't. You see in the area, you can't.
Oh yeah,
there's pine needles out the ass, and it's just a recipe.
Yeah, one
for
spark
a
and the whole thing. Yeah, the whole thing.
It's very tempting though. I imagine seeing a fire in this specific spot that I showed you, and it's like, no, it looks beautiful. If I did hypothetically make a fire, which I may or may not do, I'm gonna have a fire extinguisher right there. I'm not gonna take any chances.
you'd want to clear all that space out, get it down to bare dirt, and dig down into the earth.
Exactly
You know what I
right.
mean?
Yeah,
Like
take the
create
right necessary
a
steps.
recessed thing. Yeah, but
To any of you guys who are watching and have a sacred place like this, please, you may love the space, you may appreciate it, but really take it to the next level and do your due diligence, and also complete, not 180, but random as shit, but pick up some litter. If you see some trash in your sacred spot, pick it up. That's all it takes. What I do periodically, not every time, regrettably, but just put some trash bags in your car, your knapsack, whatever, and some gloves. I don't like picking up litter with my bare hands. I bring gloves, so just pick up that trash, throw it away. You'll feel better about it. Keep your place sacred.
Make it better for the next person too that comes by. You know.
And more importantly, yourself
and
the spirits of the land too. I mean, they deserve it. You know.
Somebody was asking, how do the gates work at Rock Run? You familiar with that?
It's not at Rock Run or Rockwoods Reservation. Rockwoods Reservation, I'm not. I feel like there might be living in my area. On the off chance they do. Rockwoods Reservation, I'm not sure when they close their gates, but their gates do close. I have seen that sign before. Yeah. I haven't been there forever. It's been raining out the ass, so I haven't felt compelled to go visit there anytime soon. But yeah.
Yeah. I believe that's Matthew Sarah who says lead by deed. Reason I think that's Matthew Sarah, his Facebook user, but I think so is he watches the podcast on Patreon, and Papa and I were talking, and that phrase came up, you know, lead by deed. But yeah, hello Zach, hail to you. We got Zach on both platforms. We got Zach on YouTube and on Facebook. He's pulling double duty. I'm just gonna
throw this out there. As some of you guys have mentioned or asked questions, yes, a lot of questions can go towards Jesse, my brother, but also me. So if any of you guys have any questions about yours truly, I'd be happy to answer those questions.
Yes,
give any answers you're seeking.
Yeah, because we're in Patrick's Highlung group here, which is why if you see his Facebook user on the screen, you know, it doesn't allow in private groups for the names of everyone to come up, so I can't control that.
Thanks for bearing with us, though. Any Facebook users who are getting frustrated with that, I've been there too. I've been on a couple streams and similar platforms and I didn't see my name and I got frustrated. So don't be frustrated. Leave a comment, mention your name. Just let us know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Simple as that.
So they're saying that Rock Run is where you almost died with him. Do you know what that is? It says, this person says, Red Rock is where you almost died with me. Does that ring a bell?
Yeah, it kind of does, but I really appreciate the person to say their fucking name and let me know.
Hold on, let me get on here and see. I might be able to see if I actually go to Facebook. You know, I could always do that.
Jacob.
Is that who it is, Jacob?
Fucking tell me, dude.
Well, let me see here. Comments.
I swear to God, this Jacob, I'm gonna laugh my ass off.
Oh shoot, I'm not seeing it.
I've taken a few people to some similar places, so I don't know. It's hard to say.
Yeah. Well, maybe they'll. Oh,
Cliff.
Oh, Cliff.
That's in your neck of the woods, brother.
Yeah, there he is. There he is. Now I just got the comments to pull up. It's Cliff.
You, Cliff. Yeah. Now I gotta rethink everything you were just saying. God damn it, Cliff. What are you doing to me, man?
What happened? How did you almost die? Was it a hiking thing? Was it a inebriation thing?
Neck of the woods anymore, so it's in his neck of the woods. Now I'm rethinking everything. God damn it. Well, we went camping one time. Is that what you're referring to, Cliff? The time we went camping, or well, let me rephrase that. Try to go camping. I might have had a few too many of these guys that night. So yeah, unfortunately. What do you say?
He says I'm on Facebook user blackout.
All right, so Zuckerberg, Facebook hates Cliff.
Oh.
They really do. It's uncanny because, like, Jesse, me and you, we'll share messages, like the voice message thing, for like several minutes. He cannot share a voice message more than like 15 seconds.
Well,
Yeah.
you know, when you live in the pristine areas of the country that Cliff lives in, you got to have communication devices that are a bit more dated, a bit more updated than tin cans and strings. You know.
Oh, you gotta take that clip. You gotta take that. I really love your background, Jesse.
He's
It
in
looks
the
like it
in
has some
Indiana land, right?
Indiana land, of course.
Thank you,
Land
Patrick.
the Hoosiers.
Oh, hey, yeah. I made this
Okay.
thing. I made this background out of. I mean, it's a AI generated background.
You gotta show me how to do that because I like my background, but it could be a lot better because I have my awesome banner right here. There we go.
Yeah.
Touching it now, but what's he saying now?
Said had Billy round. He said had Billy round here, son. That uh, can you translate that? What is that in it? What is that in non-hick? I'm sorry.
No fucking idea. Can't tell ya.
The background does look nice. Thank you.
It does,
I don't know.
yeah.
I wanted to create something that looked like a like an old Germanic hut,
So
like a longhouse
ideally,
type.
my background, if I had the camera angle, would be something more like. Give me a
Yeah.
second. Give me a
Well, it's
second.
going to be
There
different
we go.
for you when you're on. Yeah, that's great. The tree.
It is great,
I'll
but I'm on
use.
my knees. Don't you get dirty, motherfuckers? But yeah, I'm
You look. Look. All I do is walk through the doors that have been placed in front of me. You
exactly.
know.
That's it. That's all we do. I'm literally looking around like, where can I elevate my phone to keep it at this level? But this,
Yeah.
come on, viewers, let me know. Is this not sick? I'm just.
Yes.
But now we go. Back
See, if you're on
to.
mobile with you, if you're on mobile, like it's not, the background thing like this wouldn't work. Like you would have to
Oh yes, to
be
still not move.
stationary and then set
Yeah,
up.
I
And I
couldn't
don't
do
even know.
that. No.
I've never used this on mobile, so I don't know if it gives you the capability of blurring your background or changing your background like this here does. I don't know. But yeah. You got any plans for Yule coming up? I was like before you jumped on here, I was telling people how excited I am to looking forward to our Yule coming up in a couple of weeks. Less than a couple of weeks. I mean, the first night starts the 25th. So we're
Honestly, I'm not completely sure. I have
yeah.
some plans. I'm not sure what's gonna play out.
Yeah.
So for now, I'd like to skip over that topic if that's cool.
Oh yeah.
I'm not sure what's going on. Yeah, I don't know. That's the short and sweet answer. I don't know. I have some plans, but I don't know. It's all in the works. Hopefully, it works out. I'm having high hopes and high expectations. Not high expectations, but it would be great. I'm branching out from my typical celebration, so we'll see how it goes. I'm looking forward to it, though. God's willing.
Definitely.
Yep.
Matthew, Sarah, that's Matthew's comment. I'm checking Facebook. So Facebook user
Yeah,
Matthew says
appreciate it.
thanks for referring to it on the correct days. No problemo. Hey Joshua West, what's up, man?
And that's I think be kind of frustrating for a lot of us who are like modern practicing heathens, because a lot of people did the 12 days of Yule around Christmas. And Jesse, we talked about this before. That's how I started off. Matthew Petrie,
Sure.
a former influencer of ours and friend.
Yeah, he was watching here a minute ago too. I don't know if he's still
He
on
was,
here, but
no
he
shit.
yeah,
Well,
I saw
damn. All right.
Odin's beard
Nice.
woodworking popped up on the comment earlier.
That's cool. But yeah, I mean, it's a funny thing too. Completely 180 here, but bear with me. I think you'll appreciate this. I had a dream the other day, right?
Mhm.
I was working at Burger King. Okay. I'm trying to learn the menu or how to take an order on the screen, right? Guess who shows up to teach me how to do that shit? Matthew does.
No shit.
I have no fucking clue why or how he showed. Man, he knows I know how he showed up, but still, it's funny as hell that he showed up to show me that. I'm like, what? What?
We got Heidi
funny.
who just said hi from the
Heidi!
Facebook group.
Heidi! We
just
just
said
got in a
hello.
video chat. Her and I
Yeah.
were in a video chat, and it was really sick. We got to, oh shit, I don't have my drum right now, but we're playing our drums together.
Oh,
We're
awesome.
playing rattles. It was a great fucking time. A great video chat. Thank you, Heidi, for joining us. And yep, I'm here. Yeah. So happy she's here. She is a
Excellent.
partner of Sven, who's an admin of the Highland Spiritual Group, the group that I
Oh, no
first
way.
came from. Yeah, she's
Oh,
a
right
really
on.
great woman, great person. She had a couple of questions about you, Jesse, but hey, Heidi, the floor is yours. Please feel free to ask him any questions you're asking me. He's the right guy to ask. Oh,
Hmm.
there's his picture. There we go.
Yeah, we got Cliff. He says, "No, you're coming through now, Cliff. You got your face and all that coming up." Um, but let's see who's. Oh, Heidi
I
says, "How do
go
I
live.
go live?" We're all
Oh,
live, Heidi. We're all
it's
live.
invitation. I'm invited to his live stream, so that's the reason why I'm part of this
Oh yeah,
stream
yeah,
right
yeah,
now. Yeah, so
yeah.
unfortunately, it's not like my lives where you can just pop in or whatever and send an invite. But yeah, so it's me and us, me and him right now. So yeah,
You got it. So yeah, I think Michael was, or no, Voodoo Viking on YouTube was asking earlier, just when is Yule? The historical pre-Christian Yule was held at different times depending on the lunar solar cycles, and so traditional historical heathen Yule is on the first full moon after the first new moon that follows the winter solstice. So that's why it's different every calendar year. Every time each year, it's going to be on different calendar dates by our modern Gregorian calendar. And this year it will start on January 25th and be for 3 nights. The amount of watchers are lacking compared to the recap of Fire on the Mountain. We got 15 live viewers, Michael. Considering I think to stay in double digits for us here is relatively good, I think.
I will say
Um,
though, I do sincerely regret not being part of this podcast, but hopefully one day I'll be able to recap that. But what's Heidi saying?
she says, first of all, how do you pronounce your last name?
She told me that earlier. I'm like,
My last name?
your Facebook last name, yeah.
Oh, Aethervagen.
Thank you. I would have butchered the
That's
hell
not
out
my.
of that.
So, that's a funny, not a funny question. It's a good
A
question
funny,
because
interesting
it's not
question.
my
Funny,
name. It's not.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's not my. It's not my. Or so, my surname is Stillwagon. But it's German, Dutch, in its origins, and it has been spelled differently over the centuries. It used to be so way it's spelled right now. It's still wagon, but it's not spelled the same way that you would spell like a wagon sitting still. It used to be. So I went and I looked at Old Norse words for wagon and like stillness, like a still wagon. Like what would be a still wagon? And it would be an Aetherwagen.
That's
So
badass. I kind of
I just,
appreciate that.
yeah. Cliff says,
So
imagine me smashing through the door of the hall with a board, dragging a leg of meat. I could picture that. You
I can
seem
see
like
that
the type.
easily.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's Heidi. Oh, yeah, you're
Yep.
welcome.
Thanks for
Heidi, I'm
clarifying.
open for questions too. Just ask me.
Yes, please. Cliff or
Also,
Patrick
though,
is
on
here,
that
and
note,
yeah.
my last name is Walsh. So all I know from Walsh is the family crest, which is in Latin, it's Transfixus sed non mortis, which those words still and have always resonated very close with me. It's transfixed but not dead.
Mm.
And I truly feel that embodies my lifestyle in a lot of ways. Like, I'm not dead, I'm still present. I've been born differently. And I wish I had more wise words, more said it more eloquently. But, basically,
I think you say things very clearly and very eloquently, sir.
thank you. I appreciate that. I'm my own worst critic, but in a lot of ways, I feel like I'm in between worlds. Like, I am normal, but I'm not normal. I'm here, but I'm not here. I'm very close with the downtrodden and people less fortunate, but I'm also appreciative of those fortunate and forthcoming. But more importantly, though, I align myself with those who have to suffer. And I feel like struggle breeds greatness, and that's where I've come to meet the amazing people, influences, and aspects of my life, like Hai Long. I mean, I have to throw them into this reference because they were at first very obscure, very unknown. Now they're making a name for themselves. I'm of a similar upbringing, obscure, but those who appreciate us as influencers and as people. And again, I'm probably gonna regret making this reference, but we all have humble beginnings. We all start fresh from nothing. It's our actions, our desire to do good by each other and ourselves that really carry our merit and our weight as people, as men, as women, as people. We need to carry that flame on our own sacred mountain. And that's something, again, I wish I would have mentioned in the stream, but that's neither here or there. But,
Well, you're here
all of
now,
us, yeah,
right?
exactly right. Thank you. I see some comments here. I'm getting distracted. So
Yeah. Let me back up for a second
yeah, thank
because
you. Yeah,
we got a question for both you and I
yeah. Okay.
on our opinions about Berserkerganger, going berserk, right? Is it useful for modern day? Is it a tool or more of a lesser evil from the old ways of heathen culture?
I have an
Patrick?
answer. Yeah, thank you. I think it does have applications, but with the best intentions and mindset. For example, let's say you have an unhealthy habit with drinking. For me, is a clear example that I'm working on. It doesn't help that I'm drinking during this podcast, but I've taken a few days off prior to this engagement. But anyways,
No
with
judgment, man.
any
Look,
with
I'm
any
drinking with you.
thank you. So any unhealthy habit or mindset that you may carrying, sometimes you need to go berserker. Like, you know what? Enough is enough. Draw your line in the sand, establish boundaries, and do what you have to do. It may upset yourself or other people, but sometimes going berserker is very appropriate, taking aggressive actions, taking aggressive steps to do so. But again, you have to come to that point organically. And with ideally no other option to take that route. Just, again, being mindful of what's going on, see it from other perspectives. Because what I say could be interpreted many, many ways. So be like, oh, well, you think this person or this habit's bad and just cut them off. Like, no, do your homework, do your due diligence, and trust your gut and your intuition and go from there. So that's the best answer I can get personally. I know Jesse could probably blow this out of the water, but the floor is yours.
Well, excuse me. No, I mean, I think there's less occasion for such things. I mean, what we know of the berserkers, they were legendary, and I wonder to what degree the descriptions that we hear of them in the sagas, how much truth there is to that, right? Because sagas are quite oftentimes embellished upon to make things appear larger than life and more extravagant and these sorts of things.
Story, history.
Right. And so I mean, like, in terms of, can it be a tool? I think, if you think of that, Berserk was a ecstatic rage, like it was this animistic takeover of the person, and they changed form according to the sagas, you know what I mean? And so it's like, if you take it literally based off of that, it's like, I don't see how that really does,
no,
in the literal sense, any good anymore. But
no, not anymore. No,
looking at from what Patrick was saying, like from a
spiritual or
metaphysical sense, right? Like not a literal sense, but more like a maybe metaphysical side,
an application to the modern day life that we could apply to ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, like, look, like
what we're trying to do nowadays.
And in terms of heathen culture, I mean, like, again, it was something of the war bands, and it was something that is written about in sagas of heroes and such. Doesn't really, I don't think, what and that's a weird two words to put together. Heathen culture. I mean, it's Germanic culture, it's Teutonic culture, it's Scandinavian culture. I mean,
You're exactly right.
these peoples were, yes, they were pagan, later known as heathen, but they each had their own culture, right? The Danes had things they did things versus the Franks and the Goths and then later on the other, like the Swedes and the Norwegians and Icelanders and et cetera, et cetera. So that's where culture comes in. I don't think the Berserker was ever a cultural thing for
No.
all Germanic peoples. I mean, granted, in when you were fighting and you were in war and there were things like that, I'm sure that there were plenty of great warriors who just went into a battle frenzy. And in those, again, in those literal senses, where does that apply in modern day anymore? But
Yeah.
I'm kind of beating the horse to death
And,
there. So
and to those who were raised in this culture and that lifestyle, forgive me, especially for potentially misinterpreting what your lifestyle was and how you saw it as such. I'm not ever going to claim to be an expert or an active practitioner as much as I like to be an active practitioner of this faith. But we're living in modern times, and that's one thing I appreciate about your channel, Jesse, is like we're trying to incorporate the past as well as the present. It's like my mental and spiritual page that I do. And I'm not a licensed therapist. I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist, but I come there bearing my intentions and my will to do good by myself, but also those who partake of this group. And I feel like that could be applied in our path as well. Some of us have done the research, some of us have not. And again, I'm not trying to step on your toes or anyone else's toes, but I feel like a lot of it goes down to your intentions, your will to sacrifice, to know yourself, to challenge yourself, and to put yourself in that path to really follow earnestly at what you're trying to do. And I feel like that's the building blocks of not only ourselves, but as a community as a whole.
100%. And in we got a comment there that in modern times, D. Seal Meagle says, in modern times, going berserk can save you in a hostile situation, as in a robbery, life-threatening situation,
of course,
or
absolutely,
as a soldier in wartime. Like, again, for specific, I think, applications, but as in terms of like heathen culture, I mean,
modern day
doesn't really fit the I don't think it fits that.
Yeah.
I think you can definitely, like they're saying, is find benefit and use and an application for that in modern times in very specific instances and cases.
Exactly.
So what's up, Scald? It works. Just
great
catching
question,
up
by
on
the
some
way.
comments.
Great question. Whoever asked that was a really good question.
Yeah, I think that was it was from NO on YouTube. Okay. Josh West here also, if you guys that don't know, Josh West.
Hey, Josh, what's up, man?
Yeah, we met him you remember him, right? We met him at Fire on the Mountain, him and Tanya. They're both the masterminds behind the Norse Fox creation. Believe it's just the Norse Fox creation, Norse Fox collection. Hold on. Norse Fox Creations. I'm going to link something down here in the comments for all you folks to check them out, because they do a lot of crafting work with animal, like furs, bones, skins, things like that. They are on Facebook. Josh, if you want to comment, if you have an Etsy store or something, this is their Facebook link. It's just facebook.com/the Norse Fox Creations. Okay.
Highly recommend it. You guys
check them out. Yeah. And they're out there
in
the Appalachia Mountains. I mean, they're out
very
there. Very
close to a very great brother of ours, Papa.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So
and that's what
and they've gotten really, I think, close. The family, Ulferhus, the Olafsons, along with Daniel and Rebecca at Moonjoy Meadery, and here, Josh and Tanya.
I was down and dived into my meat that I got that time. We got to hang out. I had some on the solstice, both meat not to draw off topic here, but I only drink mead on very special occasions, not willy nilly at all. It's very
Yeah.
sacred kind of thing, and I only get drunk off it. I mean, we got a good buzz that day, but
Oh
hey,
yeah. So
there
there's
she
Tanya,
is.
and then
Hey-o.
and Joshua did confirm that while they do not have an online store yet, you can contact them through their Facebook page, through Messenger, and um, you know, commission work through them. I know some of the things they're famously known for is drinking horns, like tankards and stuff. They'll do custom engravings and stuff on various size drinking horns. So uh, I think another thing they're kind of famous for is the cups, the covers, I should say. They're leather covers that go over the horn
Didn't Zeb have
or
one
mug.
too?
Zeb has one with
I
with
thought
his
so. That was pretty
logo
sick.
on there. Yeah,
That was pretty sick. Anytime I saw
Kindred and
his
Pagan
cover,
Tribe.
I'm looking at this like, damn, I wish I had something like that.
Cliff
Also,
confirms.
is there a way we could incorporate Moonjoy Meadery?
Yeah,
Because anyone who's interested, besides Cliff, who makes really great mead, I have to give him a little shout out there. But also, if you're interested in some wholesale mead, I couldn't recommend a better person or reputable source as Moonjoy Meadery. Really great people, great mead, gluten free, made organically with the best intentions. If I buy meat again, it's gonna be through them or Cliff. So yeah. Oh, there we go.
yep. Moonjoymeadery.com. They are on Facebook. They're on TikTok. They're on Instagram. They're on a bunch of different of the social platforms.
And priced respectfully too. The prices are ridiculous, like you see so many other places charging like $50 a bottle, $7 a bottle. No, it's very reasonable. Now, granted, there's some shipping costs to pay in consideration, but also
Yeah,
it's
but
worth
they
it.
ship
It's worth it.
to so for you guys that are in the United States, they only ship in the United States, but they ship in 38 U.S. states. But they're based out of North Carolina, Lenore, North Carolina, but they will ship to 38 U.S. states. So just go to moonjoymeadery.com and peruse their delicious flavors. We did flights of mead.
Out there,
Yeah,
yeah.
you're right. Yep.
Yeah.
Cliff says, "Thank you, brother. Can't sell over the
I
raised man.
know,
I do
Cliff. I just wanted to give you a
love to
shout out.
share."
Cliff was the guy who got me to making mead my first time.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, I don't practice it anymore, but it's a very, gratifying and awesome experience. Anyone who's interested in making mead, I highly encourage you to do your homework. It's a really
Mhm.
great process.
Cliff has shared some stuff, I think, in the Facebook group, or at least on
Yep,
his
he
Facebook
has.
page before. He shared some of his methodology into it. Very informative.
It's
So
very
check
simple.
that
It
out.
really is. It's just the
Yeah,
only thing
it's
I
not
will mention about
complicated.
starting when you're starting making meat. I will say one word: expensive. At the start, it's expensive.
Yeah,
When we continue and go about it, it's not that expensive. I got lucky because Cliff
depends on
gifted
how
me
much you want to
this.
do.
Exactly. Cliff gifted me a gift on my birthday. Cliff, you might have to correct me here, but it was a birthday gift. 2021, I think you gifted me my mead baking set. And funny thing too, it's literally the first batch of mead I ever made was probably the best mead I've ever had in my entire life. Like it was just, I think it's the best because I made it myself. That's my first batch ever in my entire life, and it tasted fucking fantastic. Like there's no bitterness,
Yeah.
hardly any sediments in the back and the bottom of the jug. It was just a great experience, great time. So again, that's one of those
Michael,
things. If you're interested, it can be very gratifying. Sorry, go ahead.
absolutely. It's a labor of love, but it's
Oh, absolutely,
rewarding.
yeah.
Yeah, Michael, I don't think even if you live in a dry county, that means that the county can't sell alcohol there. I don't
And say
think that
shit
that
about bacon.
means that you can order it and have it as long as Moonjoy ships to one of the states of the 38 that they do ship to, and you live in one of those states, you can own alcohol. You just can't buy it in a dry county.
You have to check out, see if you're one of those states.
So
available.
Moonjoy can ship it to you. Is what we're saying. Is
Don't
it,
mind
you
me,
know?
I'm gonna hit a cigarette here. So pardon the POV shot here.
No, you're fine. We're gonna catch up on some comments. People are dropping some comments and questions.
We appreciate
Um,
that too.
But let's see. So D. Sealmeagle says some neo-paganists are creeping in monotheistic ideas that are not historical or practical. Bringing the past and present together depends on understanding the ways of the past and why they did them, then taking those past practices and working them into today with the same reverence. I think reverence is the operative word here in terms of bringing the past into the present, right? Because um, I think one of the things that has happened in paganism is this notion that we can just do whatever the hell we want,
No,
however we want, whenever we want, and get
doesn't
and
work
not
like
have
that.
any regard to the ways things were done in for the purpose, like he's mentioning, or they're mentioning rather, is reverence, right? Piety, knowing that this was a way of life that was sacred, and that's
They
we
have
can
no
make
other
the argument,
options.
right? We can make
Yeah.
the argument, right, that well, religion wasn't never a thing until you start having like civilizations and control and all this other kind of discussion or argument, if you want to make it as such.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that when our the ancients had an idea of what divine spirit is and what divinity is, right? And they came up with a way to venerate, honor, worship that deity, that divinity, those sacred powers. They did so with reverence, with piety, and I think that's one of the things that has um, been somehow diluted over time. It's in modern times is you can't be pious and you can't have reverence towards a practice if you're just doing it all willy-nilly, however you feel like it, whenever you
Exactly
feel like it.
fucking
There has
right.
to be structure, there has to be order. If that's the direction that you're going to go in, there needs to be order and
A
structure to
purpose.
that.
Yeah.
Heidi has a question, says, what are your thoughts on animism? I feel like every animal,
Oh, great
plant,
question.
mountain has souls. So
Great
Heidi,
question.
great question. And I actually did a podcast this week with Papa Olafson, just
Yeah, great podcast, by
basically
the way.
all about that. So if it's like an
Yep.
hour and 20-minute long podcast, if you go, if you want to listen to it, it's on Spotify and like Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. I mean, it's on like a dozen different platforms. The video version is only available through my Patreon, but we talk about it, and I am an animist. I would consider myself, while I am heathen, I am also very strongly animistic with my beliefs, and to what your point being that everything has life. And we
Everything.
talked about this on the podcast with Papa, that you're like a lot of the modern concept or perception of what life is it has to be something equivalent or similar to us as humans, right? They need to be living, breathing, talking, to be alive or to have life or to have spirit. And animism is that everything has spirit. The rocks, the trees, the river, everything has spirit and everything has life. And even if you can't see it in the same experience
You
as
could
like
feel
another
it.
human
You
being,
could
you can
feel it.
feel it. Right, exactly.
And it's interesting you point that out too. Pardon me for multitasking here, but basically, as I mentioned earlier, with my sacred place in the
Just
mountains
watch
with
them
the pine
angles, man.
trees. Yeah, I know, right? I know, right? But more importantly, though, but what we're saying though is my sacred pine tree spot that I visit. When I come here, as I mentioned in my Facebook post, anytime I go there, I may feel upset, happy, or whatever feeling I'm feeling when I get there. I leave there with a sense of appreciation and love for the sacred and for life. And that's something that we see in animism as the trees. Did they say anything verbally? No, but did they sense do they say something spiritually?
They speak to you. You just
Absolutely.
have to listen.
You have to have the ears to hear and listen,
Mm-hmm.
the eyes to see and understand, and the mind to appreciate and practice.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Had some trouble with places not being able to ship to a dry county. Interesting. Uh, that's, I mean, hey, if that's what's happening, I guess, then that's what's happening.
Also, something I
Um,
want to touch on really quickly
and
too.
Voodoo Viking says to Michael, like, hey, just because you can't buy it, right? You can buy, if you want to make mead. There's nothing in a dry
I'm
county that's going to
stopping it from
prevent
that.
you from buying water, honey, and yeast,
No,
and fruit if you want to back sweeten it, right? Nothing that's
might
going to
help a little
prevent you
bit.
from doing that.
Exactly.
You know.
Also, I want
Well,
to touch on something really important here. Let's say a lot of you guys live in a city by chance, or somewhere you don't have any parks or anything. You want to find somewhere sacred? A sacred place is what you make of it. It could be your backyard, a little
yeah.
like Cliff. He has a really awesome backyard and he has a really awesome setup. Great like bushes, great garden, a great spot. As long as you dedicate something sacred, keep it sacred. Again, like litter or anything else, especially if you go to a park. Let's say you go to a park that it's like very community driven, but at the same time, do your part and make it special, make it sacred. Kind of like
Well,
with my place, the Pine Spot. It's amazing what you could do when you make it your own sacred space. Because like that day, I went there to do my drumming and my sacred work, and I brought my flag. It's incredible what energy a flag can carry when you do something like that. Because I hung up a flag for a few minutes, and the energy just changed. It was like, it's
like a
in a way
banner
I
that.
was like, I declared it my own.
Well, that's
Sorry,
the
I
thing
just
about sacred space is that it has to be, um, it has to be created, and has to be maintained, and it has to be set as such. You know what I mean? The old Germanic tribes, they venerated and worshipped. Tacitus documents, uh, they had sacred groves. You know, and the why I like Tacitus is he, while he may not have been an eyewitness to things, he was documenting things that were told to him as a pagan himself. He was a Roman pagan, but he was a pagan. So there was none of this Christian bias that gets leaked into some of the later sources. You know,
yeah, the
he was
transitional
documenting
period
things.
between.
Yeah, he was
Go ahead, yeah.
documenting things of the Germanic peoples that other of the Roman soldiers and whatnot witnessed, and he was documenting it all down, but he was explaining it as from the perspective of a Roman pagan. So he wasn't trying to Christianize it or change the narrative to appeal to the conversions that were happening. He was calling the Germanic gods by their Roman names, you know, Mercury and Jupiter and all that.
Saturn.
So yeah, so like D says that the reverence may not have been a right word. I think it fits though. But why
It does.
did they use blood, meat, sacrifice of certain kinds, certain places, certain natural materials, and taking that into thought as we try modern replacements? Yeah, I mean we're old ways in modern times, right? Make it fit, make it
Make it your
stay as
own.
close to tradition if you want to.
Yeah.
Yeah, but make it practical, like he says, practical. Let me just catch up on here some comments.
Yeah, please do. Thank you.
Mike makes his own mead. Like if you try professional quality product, yeah, 100%. You know, that always does present a challenge. And Michael, I'm trying to remember if you're in Kentucky. I mean, maybe somebody can get it shipped to them, and then you can just make a drive and visit them and hang out and pick up some
I mean,
stuff.
some great people you meet. There's some
Yeah.
great people you can meet and hang out with who live near Kentucky. This guy in
Wild
particular.
blackberries, I'm not too far from Kentucky.
Nah, not too far at all. Close to me is at least. Heidi, what you have to say? Heidi.
Yeah, I'm just catching up. Says agrees. Gonna check out the Moonjoy. Michael back sweetens a lot of his fruit mead with strawberries, raspberries, wild blackberries.
Smart.
That would be a delicious mead. I love strawberries in mead. Like
I want to make a
those
comment
flavors
to
infused.
Heidi. I want to make a comment to Heidi who's watching this right now. Heidi, would you not agree this is a podcast that's worth of watching? We're talking smack about things we watch every now and again, and it's nice to have a podcast that we can relate to and apply it to ourselves, not get hung over any other thing, whether it be mainstream media or what have you, or the day-to-day bullshit. It's just nice to have a place that keeps it heathen related and relevant and applicable. You know what I mean? Because I've seen heathens, and I use air quotations here for a reason, on TikTok or Instagram, and they're all about a couple things: making money, getting followers. Like that's not the way to go about things. You want to appeal to your audience because you are that practitioner, you are that person, you are that person. Like Jesse, I keep pointing the wrong angle because it's opposite angles here, but
I
like
know. I do the same thing. I'm like, my left is your right, my down is your up, and
this guy
yeah.
over here. Wait, that's is this the,
Oh, hi, Patrick. No, wait, where's Patrick?
wait,
Oh,
wait,
up
wait,
here.
wait. When I first discovered Jesse, I've told the story more times than I care to mention, but I'm always happy to talk about it. Is like, at the very beginning of my re-entry to Norse paganism, one fateful evening, I was on YouTube, just hey, there's a guy. Hey, he's full of shit. Oh, there's a guy. He's about money. Oh, wait, there's a guy.
I was full of shit.
Okay, there's Nick Art Musings. He seems all right. And that was how to perform a basic heathen ritual. And from that moment on, I'm like, this guy, he knows what he's talking about. So, long story short, I met him my first time in 2022 in his
Yeah, in
homeland.
person.
It was a great experience. Wonderful time, despite the COVID bullshit and the Mercury retrograde. That was a pain in the ass, and also my car issues. Good God. So then,
We learned something valuable, though, right?
exactly. And then this time around last year of Fire the Mountain, I mean,
Beautiful,
I'm just very,
beautiful
very,
friendship
very,
that
very.
has grown into a brotherhood.
Exactly right. And that's the thing too is for anyone who's watching, don't be deterred, because if you want to rekindle a friendship like him and I have, all you gotta do is just follow your heart. Do what you're doing. Just do
Be
what
genuine.
you're doing. Yeah, and don't expect anything. Just let it happen. As I've said countless times as well, there's just evenings I'm telling Jesse, like, dude, like, I just don't feel a connection right now. But then more often than not, out of the blue, it just comes like, Jesse, hey, check this out. It's amazing. More often than not, when you want a spiritual and gratifying experience, it comes to you when you least expect it, when you need it. Is when you need it. It's the key thing to focus on. When it's meant to happen, it will happen. Run with it. Make it the best you can.
Yes, absolutely. I have a question. There's no says while meditate. So this is, I guess, directed to me, but Patrick, you can feel free to
Of course.
chime in
Thank
too.
you. Yeah.
While meditating or any other time, have you ever had an encounter with an Aesir? And if so, which one, as well as which Aesir are you most close to? So,
I'm happy to report I have something to relate to. So you go first, though. You first.
thank you.
Oh, no.
It's in my journey and along my path, I've had different times where I felt like I needed to focus on more like one specific Aesir god or Vanir god even. But I guess to answer your question, I had an encounter with Odin one time in a very non-typical way. He spoke to me in a voice and using a name that is not typical for Odin, at least in like source materials. But one of his names that he's known by is Bolvekkr, which means evil bringer. And I had an encounter one time where he spoke to me in a voice that was like, "Don't forget Bolvekkr," and I was like, "Why do I need to think about that?" But it was at a moment of something that happened in my in a town in the city where I live. I had like moments before I heard that voice speak to me. It was there was like an explosion in the city.
I'm ready to tell that story too.
Yeah, you remember that one? I think I've
Yep, I
told it.
do.
I think I've
Yep,
talked about it
it's a
on
great
either
story though. Continue,
podcast
please.
before or stories or yeah.
Don't let me
So,
cut you off.
anyways,
Yeah.
I was sitting out on my porch and I heard, for lack of a better term, what sounded like an explosion, right? Just boom, and I felt it in the ground, like the ground vibrated and shook, and it wasn't like a transformer that's blowing on a power line. Like, I mean, it was alarming. Um, and then like I got up from the porch and I walk inside, and as I'm walking through my front door, is when I hear this voice that says, "Don't forget Bolvecker." Um, and I'm like, it wasn't like clear at the time that it said "Don't forget Bolvecker." It was kind of more of a like tones and inflections of voice. Um, but as I sat and I meditated on it at that moment, because I knew that what I was hearing was nothing, like there was no TV on, no radio, no any other like auditory thing going on that would have potentially been the thing that I was hearing, right? So
Or
it was a
altered that.
voice that I
Yeah.
heard coming to me, and I'm like, well, what is it? So I'm like listening, replaying it in my mind, meditating on it, and the tones, the inflections, the everything. That's what it was. Don't forget Bolvecker. And I'm like, Bolvecker, that sounds familiar, right? And I go to look it up what it is. It's one of Odin's names, and it means evil bringer. And I like literally moments after I heard this explosion, which turned out to be um, something that like shut down like transportation in the city of our train system. Um, Nobody got hurt from it. It was like some, I forget what the, it was like a gas explosion. Gas line did something, blew out a bunch of windows in a nearby apartment building. And I don't mean like two or three. I mean like the whole backside wall of an apartment building. Like half of those windows, bottom and top stores, were like blown in from the explosion because it happened by a railroad track.
Pretty crazy.
And so, but in terms of which Aesir I feel like most close to, that has changed over the years too. Like there was a time where I was particularly drawn to Tyr and focused a lot of my practice around Tyr veneration. More recently, it's been kind of a mix between Odin and Thor. So, but I guess on a regular basis, it's been Thor. So, our tribe's name is Hluridi folk, and Hluridi is one of Thor's kennings, or a name, I should say, not a kenning per se, but another name in the sources for Thor. So, Thor tends to be one that gets a lot of attention with myself and also our tribe. So, Patrick, do you want to add anything? Anything that you
Absolutely
maybe?
yes. Absolutely yes. So
And everybody, just real quick before we get on, I know there's a lot of comments coming. We're going to get to you, but I do want to give attention to everyone, and if there's something that we can create some conversation around and get to it like we're doing. So thank you for your comments. I will be getting
yeah,
to you
absolutely yeah.
shortly. Yeah, but
So
Patrick,
this goes back before my reentry into Norse paganism. This goes back several years here. So during this time in my life, it was very chaotic, but for the best of intentions and the best of reasons. So during this time, I was somewhat of a dabbler, trying to find myself. So what I used periodically was a pendulum, and what I would use is like a little glass cup, and then I put a pendulum in the middle, and then for this occasion, I was drawing an energy that I felt some kind of like a calling towards. I didn't know what it was, so I put the pendulum in the middle of the cup and I spelled out a name. Now, granted, the story pales in comparison to Jesse's, but you know, it plays a very important role in my life. But
well, not that we're comparing.
no, you're right. You're right. You're
No,
right. It's
like
unfair to compare. It's unfair
yeah,
to compare.
yeah.
But yeah. Anyways, that said, I spelled out a name. Now, when I first spelled out this name, I had no freaking idea what I meant. I mean, I'm like, what the hell? Now the word specifically I can remember to this day was FREDJYA. Well, that's interesting. So I did some Google research, and then what showed up, which was the only thing that really showed up when I typed those words, was Freya. I'm like, huh, interesting. I looked up the name. It's a Norse goddess, Freya. And then right then there, bang, connection. I'm like, wow. I read the descriptions and what she. So this is from Avenir, not an Assia.
Mhm.
But I felt a very, 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 very. I mean, I can't express this enough. A very close connection with Freya. And what's frustrating about saying this is during this time, I felt the strongest connection with her that I ever had in my entire life. Even to this very fucking day, I don't feel that connection the way I did that day or that time. But it was for a good purpose and a good reason. So from that point, I start studying and learning the runes and learn more about the Norse pagan journey. Also, stick with me for a second. So I actually rebought a book I had during that time period. Now, while I don't agree 100% with this book, this is kind of like more nostalgic than anything. I bought this book. I'm not sure how well you'll see it, but that's the book. It's called The Rites of Odin. So there's only so many selections you can have at a local bookstore in my area about Norse paganism or just paganism in general. But I read this book and I was like, yes, this is perfect. So I got my entry to Norse paganism, and then I established my 3 primary deities that I still follow to this very fucking day. And those are 3 deities, and they're on my altar. They're the main 3 I go to. Sorry, I get a little passionate here, but that's Freya, Thor, and Odin. Those 3, without a doubt, will always be pinnacle to my life, to my existence, and to my path, not only as a pagan, but also as a human being, and really enveloping their practices. But it wasn't until late 2019 that I made my reentry and back to the story of Jesse and Midgard Musings, and here I am today. So in a nutshell, I spelled out the name Freya during a pendulum or whatever work you want to choose the word. I can't find the word right now. May it be a seer work or what have you, but I spelled out that name, and the journey started. It fucking started, and that's always have. And also Freya, also having that passion, that drive, and that warrior spirit, as well as Thor too. But Thor day-to-day practices like you, but it's just it's Thor is definitely my Patreon god. He's the god that I hold very close to my heart and to my day-to-day practices, because he gives me strength and endurance through every plight, every celebration, every struggle, every moment, every day. That's someone who I go to. And I couldn't be more proud, Jesse. At the time we got to Far the Mountain, I got to carry that flag as we strolled in.
Yeah, you were the flag bearer, man. Because we got this banner with our tribe's staff on it, and Patrick was the flag bearer because he flew in under our colors.
Yes, that was a great question.
That's great. Yeah, thank you very much.
That was a really wonderful question.
Shini says that they live on the outskirts of Tulsa, and more often than not, there's more city structures, so it can be difficult sometimes to find a good spot where they feel comfortable.
Any spot you make as your own is special.
Yeah, and I know what you mean, especially being because even though I'm right by the river, like I can hear traffic on Broad Street because it's literally right across the river from where we live. So it's like, yeah, sure, we're out here in this beautiful landscape, and then you hear all that,
That's why it's really lovely and nice to have earbuds and awesome music and great musicians and bands and artists that can solidify your journey to what you're doing. And that's something I've come to appreciate about our spiritual practices. Also, the music, which I'm not gonna lie, is very pinnacle and very important for a lot of ways to express ourselves, our dedications to our passions. I see a lot of comments here. So Jesse, you take the wheel.
Oh yeah, it's going back to a lot of the mead stuff. Cliff was offering if anybody wants to reach out to them. Cliff, if
Please
you
let him
guys want to
know.
reach out to Cliff, yeah,
He's a great guy.
he can definitely help. Scaldic Works is in Alabama, and he's just commenting that even if you can't homebrew in a dry county, exception is if the city is wet in a dry county. So I guess there's definitely some legal red tape to have to go through. Joshua says, yeah, sometimes so there is that. Like, I guess do what you will, but understand the consequences or whatever.
Hey, Facebook user.
First time joining. Hello to you both. I'm sorry for missing that earlier, but it's
don't be
Facebook
sorry.
user. It's in the Highland group. So
whoever you are, don't
whoever
be
you
sorry.
are, thanks for being a first time participant here.
Don't be sorry. You're here. That's what matters. You're here. Thank you for joining us.
100%.
Appreciate you.
Voodoo Viking says it's in New Orleans City Park. There's a small clearing in the patch of woods that has a concrete bench in it. You have to crawl in it. You get like a 5x8 clearing where the water comes into it. Nice.
All right. In the comments, drop where you're from. I'll start. St. Pierre, Missouri. Jesse?
I'm in Murfreesboro, Tennessee.
Okay.
I know earlier we had some folks from Orlando, Kentucky, Ohio.
Spit it out, guys. Where you at? Oh, I know where Cliff is.
Yep.
Terre Haute.
Terre Haute. Keep it heathen. I'm going through there. A lot of comments. I'm trying to get caught up on here.
Thank you,
Take
Heidi.
literally divide the sacred. Yeah. So going back to the defining sacred space, right? You can use rope if you want to create a literal barrier. From Homganga to Uppsala, and the sources mention a literal division between the two. They were defining space, right? There was a definite, like, hey, this is the common area, this is everywhere else, and then there's a spot that is clearly defined and separated and set aside as sacred. That's why I think when you're indoors, right? Like that's why you use a certain area, or you dedicate a certain area, a spot of your house, if you want to have like an altar. Or even if it's outside a hauger, right? The stack of stones, that sort of thing. You're fine, Michael. You're not hijacking anything. We just get on tirades and conversations, and then we gotta catch up. Heidi says that her German fiance said that the Germans were actually translates to men with spears. They didn't have the same advanced weaponry as the Romans of old times. I mean, the spear, that could very well be. I'm not a linguist, but yeah, I mean, the spear was a very common weapon of war. Cliff says, Jesse, I have a question. Do you ever go back and watch your old videos? How often? What is your cringe fact?
I might force him into doing that, Cliff. I might force him into the.
Do I need to do video reactions of my own old content?
You more or less did so when I asked you for the basic heathen ritual. You're watching that, like, oh my god.
Man,
I thought it was great. I loved it.
I haven't done it in a long time in terms of going back and watch my old like long form content, but yeah, I've done it before, and honestly, like, I do. I look back and I'm like, man, with the fur and the face paint and just like the
hell yeah, dude.
It looks so corny now. Just
yeah,
like
whatever,
it wasn't even
man.
that long ago, but I'm like, I realized I was like, well, I got this brand I'm trying to make and or personality.
You're making
and I'm
a name for yourself, yeah.
I mean, it was a learning period, but as we all do, right? A lot of times we reflect, we look back, and we go, man, I learned something, all right,
Goddamn right you did. Don't mind me. Just do my
you're good. We're actually going to take a quick break here in just a moment when I get caught up on these comments. So no on Facebook or on YouTube, sorry, says most close to Tyr for his aspect of victory and justice and his resolve for sacrificing his
that's
army.
great.
Every Tuesday, meditate with tuas that they carved out of an ash root. That's a great dedication to Tyr.
Absolutely.
Joshua's three major Aesir or Vanir or just any of the Norse gods focuses. Joshua West's mine is Tyr, Freya, and Odin. So same, almost identical to you, Patrick. Freya and Odin, and then his is Tyr. Cliff's running out of juice. All right. See you,
Oh,
Cliff.
hogwash, Cliff, you plugged that bugger up. Later, buddy
He says,
boy.
until next time. Well, good to see you, Cliff. Sorry if I missed your Papa. Somebody said Papa.
Wait, what? What?
I
Papa?
don't know. Well, Joshua said Papa.
Oh,
I don't know
I
if he was
hope
here or
he's
not, or
here.
if that was probably something from a
Amazing.
comment earlier.
That'd be epic as shit if he was here.
How important should ancestry be in an ancestral worship belief, as in heathenry? We're all mixed now, but
Fundamental.
connections to ancestors is important in animistic heathenry. It was all about the family and tribe. How important should it be? I think it has a place, and I think it has a very important place. I don't think people need to get hung up on it nowadays for some of the reasons that you mentioned. Plus, I mean, I've had talks and conversations with people about, you know, this type of thing before too, and it gets the waters get a little bit murky when, especially nowadays, where you talk about like families being divided, right? Children having their families separated, torn apart, not knowing so much about their ancestry, right? But feeling a pull, feeling something drawing them in a certain direction. I think that is likely their ancestors speaking to them to go in a certain direction. So whether they may know a lot about it or not, they feel it, and they are feeling that pull. So it kind of behooves you not to investigate a bit more and maybe explore some of those ancestral ties and kind of where your all that and stuff comes from. But you know,
It's great.
it's not the deal breaker. I think it's not like, you know, how
No,
important
not at
is it?
all.
I mean, it's not like, well, if you can't do it, then you have no business following this path. Like, no, I
No.
mean,
No.
everyone's gonna, you know, walk their path in their own way and discover things in their own time. But I think for any ethno religion, all right, so we're talking like even the Hebrews, you know, the Israelites, the Jews of today, like they have their own ethno religion. Indo-European folks, like Indian people, Asiatic people, European people, you know, you go back far enough and you're gonna hit those you're gonna touch on those roots. But as with, you know, ethno religions, you know, beliefs in a certain way that are ethnically they come from a certain area, right? Like it's you know, the Hebrews believed a certain way. Their Judaic beliefs were unique to them. Asiatic people had their beliefs. Europeans had their beliefs. If you're feeling a pull in a to go in the direction of any one of those, then it is likely that there's something of an ancestral pull that's guiding you in that direction.
And even if you don't have an ancestral hold in that area, it's a calling that's calling to you. Me personally, I say this is my own perspective, opinion, and inside, follow it. See where it takes you. Because there's been several stages throughout my life that I've come to appreciate and venerate amazing cultures in my life. Now, do I practice their beliefs nowadays? No, of course not. I'm in my own practice right now, but I've come to appreciate and love many, many cultures. And I feel like that's something that we touched on previous podcasts, Jesse, is like, you know, balancing out your upbringing as well as your current practice. Because like me personally, I'm happy to say, as I've mentioned several times too, you know, I was raised as a Roman Catholic. I'm very happy, very proud of it, mainly because of my birth defect and my upbringing and having the great support network that I've had becoming the man that I am today. But I understand, I acknowledge many people have had the opposite experience or a similar experience. The spectrum is exactly that. It's a spectrum. It can cover the very best, the very worst, and everything in between it. So from my own personal experience, though, I'm very happy for that. And I'm very grateful to be in that position to be, again, grateful for my upbringing And a lot of you guys who are new into Norse paganism or any belief structure, never do yourself the service for forgetting your upbringing, because that makes you the person you are today. Not that you're growing, developing, and becoming someone else. That's badass. But just
Yeah.
never forget your roots. Never forget your roots. Never forget where
Yeah.
you came from. It plays a
And
very pinnacle role.
yeah, and the family, right? The way you were brought up. I mean, how you were raised and stuff like that's gonna touch into individual, family traditions, whether they're cultural traditions or not. I mean, it's a tradition that has, how you were raised, the way you did certain holidays, right? Where you went certain times of the year, what you ate at certain dinner, whatever. I mean, those are all individual culture
They play a
practices
role.
that circulate
Yeah,
around the family unit, which is
exactly right.
important, and it's always been important, especially when we look at like a Germanic culture perspective. The family was i- super important.
Especially
it was the highest connection that you could have was with your family.
especially
Um,
with Christmas just passing over recently. A lot of
right.
us felt obligated to, in more ways than one, celebrate that. Like me and you, I feel like can be on the same level here. Is like we didn't celebrate the Christian Catholic heritage of it, but we celebrated being with family, be with our people, be with our roots.
Yeah,
You know,
because it's such a
that's what I
common
did.
now thing nowadays, right? Like it's the time of year when everybody can get off from work, they can forget about their professional obligations, and they can spend time with people, their families, their kin, and all
Make
that.
it the best you can. Make it the
So
best
it,
you
it
can.
sure, right? Like work it the way as best you can. We do have more comments to get to, but we are going to take a short, break here, guys. So for everyone that's still watching, if I haven't gotten to your comment yet, I think the next one is going to be Shinny. So we'll come back to Shinny's comment here after a brief break. If you guys are watching, just get up, stretch your legs yourselves. I'm going to put a little bit of music on screen here for the time that we're taking a brief intermission, and we will come back and resume the comments once we do that. So thank you all for being here, and we will be right back. Welcome back, everybody.
Hello, everybody. How you
What's up? What's up?
doing?
What's up? All right, here,
Oh,
folks.
what's up?
We're back, and let's catch up to the last comment that I said we would get to. Let's see here. Oh, Jenny says it's difficult to find good books on the runes here in Tulsa, but I do know of a hole-in-the-wall bookstore that has lots of books on paganism practices. As far as books for runes, the only one I would say stay away from is anything by Ralph Bloom. Avoid it like the
I have a
plague.
few books. I
Um,
have a few books that are. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
deals? No, you're good. I'm just looking at it. So, isn't having quote patron gods more of a monotheistic idea? Not saying you can't, but isn't that idea brought from monotheism? I don't necessarily think that for sure, because so we'll use the term patron god. Let's change it from that and call it, a cult of a certain god. Like so, and I know that that word tends to raise some like red flags potentially for people when you say cult, but we know that there were at times different focuses on certain gods. There was a cult of Odin. There are cults of Freyr. There are cults of Nerthus. Right? There are different cults of a specific god. So while the pre-Christian peoples of Europe, wherever, may have been polytheistic, right, believing in multiple deities, there are examples of certain folks having, and certain classes of people even having a centralized focus or cult of that particular deity, right? The Swedes were more towards, Freyr, maybe the Danes and some of the higher upper echelon, the elites at the time had a focus on Odin, etc. So yeah, while you can potentially make the argument or the statement of patron gods or goddesses being a kind of a monotheistic, like I'm going to focus on that. I think that maybe it's more something along the lines of like I'm not going to discredit, or I'm not going to avoid or ignore any of the other gods, but my focus, my cultic practices are going to focus more on one of those specific gods. It's not to say that this patron god or goddess is the only divine being that I'm going to focus on, or that it's the only divine being that I think is in control or runs anything, but it's more of a cultic focus on that particular deity. Heidi says that she's proud of your journey, Patrick.
Thank you, Heidi. I appreciate that so much, and I'm very happy to know Heidi as a friend, but also as an influencer in my life. She stood by my side from the very start to the very moment today. She's a very great friend, as well as a shout out to the Highlung Spiritual Group where I came from originally, and started this group on my own behalf. So please continue.
Nice. Oh, well, you had asked earlier where everyone's from. We've got, of course, Lenore, North Carolina, from Joshua West. We've got somebody in your Facebook groups, or in your Highlung group, Patrick, who's in LA. Also, Dirty Jersey, Cliff's in Terre Haute. We got Texas checking in. Cliff says maybe looking to move to Middleton, Tennessee. Nice.
Yeah, right on your neck of the woods, huh?
Jesse's hair, though. Oh, look, talking about older videos. That was an unfair dig. I don't know. We're going back at the time.
That's funny shit.
Heidi says, I was told to be clear and specific when calling upon your ancestors. Not all of them have your best intentions. 100%. You don't need to venerate all of your ancestors. Not all ancestors are worthy of our focus. There are pretty crappy people in all families.
Very great point.
Skogermayor, our brother Zeb, checking in also earlier. That was earlier too. So Heidi's been to 28 countries. That is 27 more than I've been to.
Heidi, flex much?
Yeah, been to Norway, England, Peru, and Israel. I ironically felt
Oh,
like
already.
they were calling.
I
I would love to
already said
travel
I was
abroad.
jealous, right?
Yes.
One day,
That
God
song's a
willing.
banger. Where we had on before. Papa wrote a book on them. Oh,
It was a great
so
song.
yeah, he did. In terms of runes, guys, I will put a comment in in here for you all. So Joshua was just there mentioning that Papa Olafson has a book on runes.
Papa has a book on runes?
Yeah,
Tell me
he
more.
wrote a book for learning the runes. It's called Runemal, a basic guide to interpreting the runes. It is on their website.
Papa's on Amazon.
It is on Amazon, but it's also on their website. But
Okay.
here's the direct link.
Thank you for that link. I'll be
So-
clicking on this very soon. Myself.
Yeah. So it is on Amazon. If you just go and search Runemal by J.M. Olafson, you'll find it. But that's the link showing up. It's the direct link to his website on theology.com.
Anyone who's listening, I couldn't speak more kindly and more confidently on his behalf. Papa Olafson's work, simply you can't go wrong. Just like
True.
Jesse and a few others, they put themselves into what they do wholly. You can see that from the moment you enter their workshop, where they're trying to promote, sell, or advocate. You know, when you buy from them and learn from them and experience them, it's whole, it's genuine, it's organic. It's not some shit you're gonna see on TikTok or any of that bullshit. What you see is what you get. And I couldn't speak more highly of Papa. You know, Jesse, above all, is the man to go to as far as references. And, hey, you know,
You're pretty okay
this
yourself.
guy over here, you know.
Michael was
Papa
asking,
here, we're talking to you.
dude. You know, I'm just happy you're here, man. These are so fun with you.
It's
You are so
we do this more
genuine.
often.
But Michael was
you.
asking,
Appreciate that.
how far back in ancestor veneration should one go? Very good question. I
Very
think
good question. Yeah.
I think from if you look at like cultural perspectives, I think the farthest back that we see people tending to go is their grandparents or maybe great grandparents at the farthest. You know, because you hear like, I am so and so, son of so and so, son of so and so, and then it ends there. Maybe they'll go one more. 3 to 4 generations, I think, is the max that we tend to see. So I guess, you know, do whatever you feel like. It's always cool to kind of go back and find like where like trace your genealogy and learn more about your ancestry. Like when I was learning stuff about my ancestry on my dad's side, you know, uncovered and learned some pretty cool things, you know. But I think one of the but like one of the things that I think can potentially happen to people is when you start looking back further than 3 or so generations, you're gonna find some neat things, right? Like I can't tell you how many people have been like, "Oh yes, I'm a descendant of Rollo," you know, and I'm a descendant of Eric the Red, and I'm a descendant of this.
I met a few people too like that.
You know,
Rollo
like
especially.
yeah, that's really cool, man. Like, and I am a descendant of you know, John Marshall, the first Supreme Justice of the United States. I'm you know, I'm a descendant of Francis Scott Key. But do I think that Francis and John, my ancestors, know anything about me or had anything in their mind about me? As you know what I mean? Like it's so far removed down the genealogical line that it's like it's cool. Like that's where my lineage can be traced back to, and if you can legitimately trace your lineage back to, medieval Europe, Scandinavia, or anywhere for that matter, and you find some really neat things, like, not trying to discredit or discount that in any sort of way, but in terms of venerating our ancestors, like, I'm not going to pour a horn out for John Marshall. Like, he's so far back down the line, like it doesn't make sense. I will.
You want to keep it relevant.
I will,
you want to keep
keep it relevant, and I'll keep it close
Yeah.
because that's where I'm close to, right? Like, I knew my grandparents, they knew me. My great grandmother, I knew her.
It can be
Sorry,
very
go ahead.
challenging though for a lot of us. You're fine, please. I'm sorry for interrupting, but just a lot of us in the pagan journey, it could be very discouraging going back a couple generations because it's all honestly based in Judeo-Christian or Roman Catholic heritage. And again, that's why I tie back to what I said, my veneration to my practice as a person, and my well-being and who I am today. Like, even though I am a Norse pagan, do I hate Roman Catholicism? Do I hate Christianity? No. I've been through that period early in my teenage years where I was a rebel. I'm like, oh, you're not for me, you're against me. F you. Fuck Christianity. No. If you're hating another culture just because of the path that you're following, you're not doing it right. In my personal, humble opinion, you're not. Because again, going back to Hylung, just to give you a little tribute and thank you, is their opening ceremony. We are all brothers. All people. Trees and stone and wind. Those words. And that's the main reason why I appreciate, love, and follow this amazing tribe. Is because I believe, and I firmly believe they do too, we accept all walks of life, whether you be Christian, Muslim, Baptist, whatever the hell you believe in. You have good intentions, you're trying to be a good person. I love you. I appreciate you. I mean, love's a strong word, but I like you. I appreciate you for being you. And if you're willing to dive into other cultures and different practices to become a better person, you're a fucking badass. You're a really special person. And even if not so, you're trying to appreciate different cultures. You trying to venerate and make the best for yourself as well as your practice, you're not going wrong. So if you have questions like the ones you guys are asking, I applaud you for that. The fact that you're trying to branch out and learn more about yourself as well as your practice, as well as your life, you're going in the right direction. But these questions are great questions. The only dumb question is when you don't ask. If you don't know, ask. Just ask.
Got a comment or a question for the both of us actually now from YouTube. Enno on YouTube. I live in a household that is Christian and find it difficult explaining and expressing my beliefs, like keeping people from disrespecting my sacred place or places. Your advice for both myself and for Patrick.
Who's going first here?
I think I went first last time, so go ahead.
All right, good. That's appropriate too.
Yeah, good. Good, Jesse.
You know what? Fine. You know what? We're not here, but no, yeah, that's a really great question. It kind of brings me back to one of my stages of my life and development. I was once a Satanist. Now, a lot of people think, oh, no, you're Satanist and blah, 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 blah. We're in the right people. A lot of you guys won't give a shit. But like I said, I went through a period that my family did not understand what I was going through. And Satanism was no exception to that rule. But thankfully, strangely enough, when I got into the pagan path of where I'm at now, so let me backtrack here. So Satanism period was very fucked up. Because quite literally, Satanism to my family was a bitch slap to what they're doing, what they're practicing. It's like, fuck you, I don't believe you, eat shit. But then as I matured,
it's totally antithetical to Christianity.
It is. But
So is heathenism, paganism, heathenry, right?
Exactly. When I grew up, it starts to mature, and I'm sure you're in that stage in development in your life. By the way, great question. Honestly, you can't explain that. As much you'd like to, as much you want to, if the opportunity presents itself, be yourself. Follow your heart. Follow your intentions. Follow your will to do good by yourself as well as your family. If they can't reciprocate that, that's not a loss. That's not defeat. That's a great fucking effort. But again, we're in a time and period in our lives and age and humanity that, we're finally coming to the point where we're actually starting to appreciate more cultures rather than the primary focal points like, Christianity, Judaism, and Muslim or Islam. Those are the main three branches of the belief that are pretty prevalent. But nowadays, that tree is offering more branches.
Yeah, I think
And in
people
some
are
ways,
getting.
we're coming from the same root.
I think people
More
are getting.
open-minded.
They're not so spoon-fed anymore. People are
Exactly. But
getting to think for
going
themselves.
back to what I was saying is like during the Satanism period, yeah, my family was less than thrilled, very against it. But now that I've come to the man that I am today, and practicing as an adult rather than a teenager, they see the good this path has done for me, and to this very day, like anytime I go to a Highline ritual or visit my friends who live far away from me, like Jesse, I told you before I went to Farther Mountain, my dad was very much on the fence, like, Patrick, you don't know any of these fucking guys. You know who you're talking to. I'm like, yeah, I actually do. And Jesse, you pop up, and then Zeb, and then Ulf and Sid and everyone else. I neglect Patrick, your law speaker. Everyone who came there had my well intentions as well as their own. We made it possible. We got back home safely. We had a great, successful journey. And more importantly, back to Highline too. Again, this is on my page, so I give them due justice and due diligence and praise. When my family saw me actively supporting and following Highline, like, wow, Patrick's going outside Missouri to go see somebody. That's badass. Oh, Patrick's doing really well. He's meeting new friends and new people and making good of himself. Now, while they don't entirely appreciate my music, they appreciate it. They appreciate the message. They appreciate the intentions. Now, I can't speak on anyone else's behalf, unfortunately, but I'm very happy to say that I have the family that I do and friends that I do that, get behind that message and understand that I'm on my own journey and they are here to support me. They may agree? No. But they stand behind me. They support me.
He's literally behind you.
That's just my little spiel there. But yeah, to answer your question again. Exactly. You saw that. I try not to make that prevalent.
No, it was perfect timing. He's standing by. He's behind me. I'm like, yeah, quite literally.
No such thing as coincidence, but yeah, my dad just got his girlfriend's cat out of the room because my dad's girlfriend's cat loves my room because it's so quiet and peaceful. Just say, but yes, to answer your question, you can't really explain it to them unless they're willing to hear that. So Jesse, you take the wheel from here.
I think for it's a very unique arrangement when you've got people cohabitating whose ideologies, whether they're religious or otherwise, conflict. And it's a totally different thing also when people consciously go out of their way, because they would have to make any effort of disrespecting your the way that you see the world. And so without knowing the specifics of the circumstances, I mean, because every circumstance is different, and quite honestly, it's not my hall, not my call, and I wouldn't venture to insert myself into a circumstance that I have no background knowledge of. But kind of what Patrick is saying is, I mean, you can't explain to people or get them to think the same way that you think. And I'm not saying that that's what you want to do, but there should be at least at the very base level of respect, in my opinion, without knowing a lot of the specifics around the circumstances. If it's, because again, it would be one thing if it was like roommate situation, and it would be totally different if it was like child parent living arrangement situation.
Mhm.
Totally different
Absolutely.
dynamic. So
Yep.
there's variables that need to be considered and put into consideration with each of those things. So be true to yourself, and given the circumstance, right, understand that there might be things that you need to consider as well with the living arrangements, the respect that is shared and owed, if anything. Just catching up some comments. Scott Shell, I've interviewed him here on my channel and on the podcast before, but he's like, so I'm a descendant of a bunch of nuts from Kentucky. What's up, guys? Scott is himself a practicing heathen, a Saxon heathen, but also has academic credentials and has a great YouTube channel here, you guys. So check him out for things that go along more of the linguistic side of heathenry, but also from a practitioner's point of view. It's fun to look back into the Scottish clans for my personal family, finding out the sarcasm predates just these small generations that you know in your lifetime. It goes all the way back to the 1500s. Makes you grin. 100 times bigger thinking about it. I mean, you get it from somewhere, right? Like you got to inherit those traits from somewhere. Tanya says, to truly understand yourself and your faith, you must be understanding of others and theirs. I think that that's a beautiful statement, and it's always good to be open to that. It's within the individual where the disconnect happens. It's the individual that needs to take responsibility on how they practice their faith. Meeting you guys at the meadery. So this is Tanya and Josh, right? The Norse Fox creation here commenting now is, meeting you guys at the meadery was a highlight of Josh's and Tanya. Having watched your content before and then finally getting to meet you guys was especially cool. It's always great to put a face to the name.
Absolutely.
And then seeing stuff that people post online, and then getting to meet them up front is always awesome. Heidi says that I was shunned when I was told my strict Catholic family that or when they told their strict Catholic family that they were heathen. But stand your ground while respecting them. You will find your tribe.
Been there, done that.
And it will be soulful.
Been there, done that.
Michael says that probably should have asked this way before now, but what runes/bind runes make for the best warding or securing sacred space? And then real quick, we'll get to that. DJ says, do it jiggle. Sometimes more than others, but yes, it do jiggle sometimes. So this is a great question by Michael Thacker about what runes make for the best warding for securing sacred space. Well,
I have 3.
Yeah, so we can take this from a couple of different angles, I mean? We can take our personal individual cultic practice approach, like what runes have worked for me in warding, but also creating sacred space. Do we use the runes? And then we could take it from that angle, and then we could take it from an angle of, do we see runes being used in sanctification applications from historical sources? Does that thing exist? Were the runes ever used magically for the warding of sacred space? But
Great question. A really
Yeah.
great question.
So you can take it from a couple of different angles. So what runes make for the best warding? You know, Elias,
Personal practice.
like that is one particular rune. Do I have anything nearby for an example of Elias? Well,
I do, if you need.
yeah, you got it. I mean, I could stand
You
you, but
know
it's
me.
gonna get blended in the
Plentiful.
background. So
Plentiful. Give me a second. I'll find something really true and near to me.
I was gonna say, you get up and you stand, you change your camera angle and it's right there. But you got a couple of pendants, I think.
Exactly right.
Yeah, Elias. This is a rune that has been commonly seen in some inscriptions or in some applications as being a rune for protection or something that can ward or protect space. In terms of bind runes, you know, again, that's its own
spiritual practice, or just your own personal
thing.
practice, I should say.
Yeah, I mean, we see representations of Algies appear on very, relatively speaking, modern runic inscriptions. So like the Icelandic Gjaldabrok, different runic staves and charms. Like we see a lot of like the Aegis-Hjalmar and the Vegvisir. Like they have like Algies is all over the place, you know. So there was,
Rightly so.
I think, an understanding of the rune's propensity for protection. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Binds are going to be something that I think, you know, if I make a rune if I make a bind rune for protection, right, it would be something that I make for someone specific, or something that is, you know, I'm not going to go and Google protection bind runes and then use whatever I find off of
No,
Google.
don't ever do that. Don't ever Google that shit. That's a terrible choice. Don't Google it.
I mean, and that's the thing. Like, you're going to see all kinds of stuff. You know, Pinterest, any of these, like Instagram, you know, anywhere, you're going to use the search functions. Algies and Sowelu, says Heidi, for spiritual protection. Sowelu is the, you know, soul, the rune of the sun. There's implications of victory, of
light,
success, right? Vibrancy, that sort of thing that go with Sowelu. So incorporating Sowelu could be a rune for things like that, like victory. It is a, you know, Sigr is a word in Old Norse that means victory. It starts with the same phonetic value as Sowelu. As far as runes go, I haven't studied them thoroughly, but I have Googled minor research for ritual. When it comes to runes, anybody, Michael, since you're mentioning, I'm going to put up Scott's comment on here, because Scott is a runologist, or I believe he has runology. I don't want to speak out of turn, Scott, but I know you and I have talked about runology, and if you are a runologist or not, then just
damn.
I don't want to be.
It's a great answer.
Saying that, but it's all come to intention. Are you trying to be aggressive? Which spirits are you trying to keep out? Are you trying to carefully build relationships? Couldn't say, you know, probably could have said it better myself. So thank you, Scott, for sharing.
I'm gonna have to follow this man here because he seems very knowledgeable.
Oh, dude,
yeah.
Dude. I mean, he's got a page on Facebook called the Daily Havamal. He's got his YouTube channel here.
I think I might have heard of this though.
Don't be sleeping on Scott now, guys. I mean,
no. Believe
maybe
me,
biased.
When this is over, Scott, Patrick will see me very soon here. So you know.
Icelandic Book of Futhark. I'm not 100. I maybe it's a great one. This is a good one. It's called Call of the Runes. Was it gonna do it? It's called Call of the Runes, and it's by Walter McGrory. He cites all of the rune poems, all like the Norwegian, the Icelandic, and the Anglo-Saxon rune poems. And these are Elder Futhark runes. So if there is a rune poem for that Elder Futhark rune, he'll be citing sources wherein that Elder Futhark rune is mentioned. Most of the Elder Futhark, if not all, are referenced in the Anglo-Saxon rune poem, but a lot of them aren't in the Norwegian and Icelandic rune poems. So in terms of book runes, like what are we looking at? Are we looking at Younger Futhark runes? In which case, maybe the Icelandic Book of Futhark is a good source material. If you're looking at Elder Futhark, maybe not so much, since the old Icelandic language that was spoken was it was using Younger Futhark, so they got rid of a bunch of the Elder Futhark runes.
To answer that question, we'll have the opportunity for creating a sacred space. Me and my personal practice, the 3 runes that popped out first in my head without any thought is Algiz. For a lot of you are on the same mind. That's me personally, as Jesse knows more than anyone, is my most sacred and most special rune to me for several reasons, whether it be my Lavatir, and then just my life as a whole as part of me. But what really inspires me about this rune, I'm gonna try to capture this to my camera here, but the pose for the rune.
Yeah, it's those
outstretched.
Exactly.
Exactly right. Exactly. Here we're on the same page here. So, me personally, when I see this rune, it could be a time of celebration, veneration, appreciation, whatever you're trying to aim and put into fruition. Is me personally, more often than not, is like I'm struggling right now. I'm inviting.
You want to reach out,
the forces,
have that divine connection.
I'm here, exactly. Or especially when you're having a sacred moment like right now, I'm inclined to say thank you for this moment, for this time to appreciate myself as well as my kid, my brother, and all you amazing people who are part of this stream. Not to get too sentimental, but I am who I am. So it's just again, thank you all for being here, sharing your time out of your day to support us in this stream. Now, I'm not saying we're ending this. I'm just saying thank you for being here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys. And also to further the answer, not to cut you off, but for sacred space, it would be Othala is my ancestry. And that could be immediate or wherever you choose to go with that. It's just my sacred home, my sacred space that I create for myself. And then lastly, that one I was debating on, I was saying Thurus or Anzus, strength and endurance, whether it be through, again, hardships and celebrations, to continue and maintain that effort, that sacred space, to uphold it, to embrace it, and take it whatever direction it takes you, whether creating, manifesting, or just continue your drive and your aspirations to be a better man, a better woman, a better heathen, a better man, a woman. Again, I said that twice, but you get the point.
You said Urus and
Algiz, Othala.
Oh, okay. Urus, Othala.
Othala, yeah.
Yeah. Othala.
Yeah, Othala.
Pet peeve. Just a slight funny thing. It's pronounced Othala. It's pronounced Othala, not Othala. Othala. Yeah. The emphasis on the what's the word I'm looking for? The words, syllables, right? So Germanic, the Old Norse, Old Germanic languages, the emphasis is always put on the front syllable. So like it's not Othala, it's Othala. It's not Sowilu, it's Sowilu. It's not Ansus, it's Onsus. See what I mean? It's put on the front. The emphasis of the word is put on the front. And the reason why I say that is not to critique you or anyone else on their
No, no, no. I
pronunciation.
completely
I
understand where you're
say
coming from.
it I say it because when we talk about speaking the runes and all that, right? Like these are, yes, they're an alphabet. Yes, they're runic system of writing and such. But if we approach it from a magical, esoteric angle, if we want to, I think it's important for us to know the word that we're saying and that we speak it correctly and that we orate it properly to put power to that. Because when we speak, we're that is magic. There is power and there is magic in words, right? So Othala.
And this is a classic example, not to cut you off, but like being corrected in something like this. I seize the opportunity. And thank you, Jesse, for correcting me. Some
Yeah,
people
no,
might take that a little as an insult, but Jesse and I, we've known each other for a few years now,
well,
and that's why
I
it's
did a rune
important to.
class not all that long ago, and that was one of the, like, the first hour and a half of was me going through each of the elements of runes and showing people like what the word
Pronouncing.
it is and pronunciation of it. Because first of all, if you're gonna get into runic divination, esoteric work, magical, this and that, again, I feel like that is a very important part of it.
Absolutely,
So
if you're gonna do
with
something right,
everybody
do it right.
listening, watching, right, we got an audience, and I just want to make sure that everybody except experiences the same thing that we're all trying to achieve.
Exactly.
No, from my understanding, it will be as will it be, albeit limited. Runes are a nobler form of magic given to men by Odin to practice, but is that their only purpose? Please correct me if I'm wrong. I think if you're going to approach the runes from a magical angle, right, and you got to know what you're talking about. You got to know what you're doing. It's not just Googling and looking, common
Googling.
meanings of things. Don't stop your journey into to the studies of the runes with just that. I mean,
Don't rely on Google, please. Anyone who's watching this, please. I've been down that road before. Refrain from Google as much as possible. More often than not, your intuition.
yeah, I mean, I would
Please
say
go
like,
ahead.
yeah, I would say is if you're going to use that tool as a resource, don't finalize what you're coming to. Don't come to a conclusion based off of what you find just
Exactly.
on Google. You know what I mean?
The
Like, sure,
internet's
use it.
great. The internet's
Use it as a
wonderful.
tool.
Yeah, the internet's great, but it could be riddled with so much fucking bullshit.
Yeah, just
There's been more
realize.
times that I care to count. Like someone who asked about the bind runes, that's personal practice. That's your own personal practice. Some bind runes may work wonders for other people and complete hell for other people too. It's just it comes down to your personal experiences and your knowledge of the runes. And that's another thing too. Again, why I illustrate and heavily emphasize don't rely on Google. You have a
Yeah.
bunch of assholes who are in it for the money or just don't want to do the homework or what have you. It's just personal practice, personal experiences. That's what it all jots down to, is that. Do your due diligence, do your homework.
Well,
You
if we
won't
take,
go
if
wrong
we,
there.
yeah, exactly. And if we look at um, a primary source, Codex Regius, Havamal, right? If we look at the Havamal as a primary source of knowledge and inspiration, it's like one of the standout stanzas of Havamal in the Runamal, the where Odin speaks the various spells that he knows, right? One of the things about
Yeah.
the runes is, there's various things. Do you know how to this, that thing, and the other, right? Vestuhue ristaskal, vestuhue solvaskal, vestuhue blodaskal. Do you know how to send them? Do you know how to bless them? Do you know how to sacrifice them? Do you know how to carve them? Do you know how to do all these things? And if you're in,
It'd benefit you wisely if you did.
if you don't, then you have no business doing that. I think it's almost an admonition or a warning in a way.
Don't do so lightly.
Exactly. Don't take it.
Not something to take. Hey, I'm bored at work. I want to know what rune to use for this. Like, that's the worst way you could do it. My personal opinion.
Right. And apps. I mean, Heidi said Runic Formula is a good app to have and learn from. I have a rune app on my phone that allows you to type and write in runic fonts. I don't know if that's the same thing that you're talking about, Heidi, but in terms of, just realize, like, writing modern English phrases and stuff in Germanic languages that either don't exist anymore or are outdated, and then trying to put those modern English phrases, sentences, words into runic formula does not, like, if you were going to try to write roots, the word roots, R-O-O-T-S, people I've seen put a Rhytho rune, and then 2 Othala runes, a Tuaz rune, and a Solwelu rune, because the Rhytho rune creates the R phenom, right? The R sound, and then Othala is the O sound. So they think, well, 2 O's in English equals 2 Othala runes in the rune. No, we don't use those runic letters or characters to write in modern English. It just doesn't work that way. So covers. I'm just going back over comments. So covers basic symbols of all Futhark, speaks about their general meanings. That's the Icelandic Book of Runes, or Sorcerer's Creed. Okay. Looking for more, something to keep intruders, trespassers away. Michael was responding to Scott on that. Recently had to reestablish a Vey, looking for extra protection. I know Scott does comment up here in a moment. The Icelandic book clarifies the difference between those, and it's good, but it's just one suggestion, certainly not the only one. Definitely check them out. I mean, I don't have anything ill to say about it. Algies is also associated with the harvest. Sheeny, in what context are you referring to that as, if you're still here? I've never seen Algies being referred to in any of the rune poems as a rune associated with.
I'm curious to hear that, though. That sounds very interesting.
Scott is happy to help.
Oh, Jesus.
In the Facebook group, you got one here, Facebook user. Last time I did a ritual at home, I was interrupted by roommates who wanted to, quote, hang out by the fire. I didn't get to focus on the thing that I wanted to. With Yule approaching, is it okay to say, I want to be alone during this? Yes.
Absolutely not. It's totally okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
yes, it's totally okay to say that.
Yes.
Jesus Christ. Sorry, I got that all wrong. Yes, it's totally okay.
This is not hangout sort of thing. We're not trying to, like, have a,
no.
When I'm doing my thing, right, and if you dedicate a time or a window of time that you're going to be doing this, then it is absolutely fine and good and right for you to say, I want to be left alone during this. This is my sacred time, and that's it.
Let me do my own thing.
Explain your thoughts on, quote, world accepting versus world denying belief systems, and how they can differentiate between what is pagan practice and what is not. That might be something I need to come back to. World accepting, world denying.
I got charge my earbuds here, so I'm gonna cut back to the original audio here. Hopefully it doesn't cut out too much, but
no, you're good. I don't mean to deflect, but I think I'm gonna try to come back to that world accepting versus world denying belief system. A lot of my approach, specifically to me, and also the tribe that I'm oath to, and the tribe that I serve is a we are accepting, we are welcoming. We also have our traditions and customs that are specific to us, and so we're not going to accept just anyone and everyone without proper worthing steps to be made to establish the worth thing. Like that's a cultural thing amongst the Teutonic beliefs is prove your worth, and then worth is then placed on you by the people. So in terms of accepting, denying, I may come back to that, but in a interest of keeping up with comments, I'm gonna maybe table that and potentially come back to it later on this stream or at another time. Heidi says, you guys are amazing, learned so much, hoping and I'm inspired by this live chat. We are glad for you to be inspired, Heidi. Thank you for being here and saying such. Scott Shell, big fan. Wonderful info. Yes, he does. Absolutely. Papa Olafson, live and in color. Popped on but lost signal walking. Well, knowing where you're at, that's to be expected. I knew what you meant, Heidi. It's a live love chat. Is this not? I mean, it's nothing but love here, guys. I mean, nothing but love for the homies and everybody, right? Like nothing but love here. So it is a live love chat. Papa's back on Wi-Fi. What's up? Eric Shervin had a good podcast episode on world accepting and world rejecting religious differences, says Michael Thacker. So D, in response to your thing, Eric Shervin, he does spell it correctly, but if you also do that and look on YouTube for The Raven's Call, Eric Shervin, The Raven's Call, I'm sure you can search on his channel for that. Eric is a friend of mine. We don't talk as regularly as we used to, but Eric, I have his number. He has mine. He is a very good gentleman, and he is the Gothi chieftain of the Khridgari, the Khridgar folk in Texas. Scott Shell offering some insight. World accepting versus world denying is something proposed by Russell, in that Christianity is world denying and heathenry is world accepting. Jesse, I need to just come on here and talk with you guys again. Scott, we'd love to have you on here again. Just come on here with you and Patrick and chat. All right, Scott, can I DM you a link? I'm just catching up to the comments, so I will await your response and be proactive in that endeavor by just dropping the doohickey on the thingy. These are all technical terms, people. Doohickey on the thingy. You know what I'm talking about. It's called multitasking. Patrick, why don't you do all this? I can't hear you, man. You're snap. The love is live. He's doing some technical things, guys. You just wait. Just wait. I'm over here. It's called filibuster. Well. The love is live, and the live is love. Well, we'll see what happens, guys. Scott says he says he meant for next time. And he saw the DM, and he says, "Give me a sec." Yeah, you're still muted. Patrick, you're still muted. Oh, maybe. Test.
We're good now? We're good now?
Oh, there we go.
There we go. Son of a bitch. That was annoying as shit. God damn it.
This is what happens, guys, with live broadcasts, right? I don't have a production crew that can like troubleshoot stuff along the way. I gotta dance.
Yeah,
I gotta bob. It's called bob and weave, people. Bob and weave.
Hey,
Love that live love,
funny.
Papa
That's
Olafson.
cool.
We all
Anyways,
do.
great points, great comments. Thank you all for saying such. I'm finally happy to fucking say something now. So,
Yeah. For all of you that may be just wondering what in the heck was going on there, Patrick was running into. I couldn't hear him. We were running into audio issues. I was catching up on comments, responding. Live love is love, or as Papa says, love that live love. I mean, in living,
yeah.
loving, living La Vida Loca.
Oh, stop! You're gonna get this on my head.
Yeah. And then, Scott's out here just like saying, I'd love to come on here and talk. And I'm thinking, well, shit, does that mean I need to give you an invite? And we're multitasking here. It's Cthulhu. We're spindling, doing the whole thing.
We're gonna have some great lives coming up here pretty soon. I'm very excited.
Papa says that my backdrop looks like I'm almost here in the hut.
Yeah.
The hut lives on.
I miss
Brother, the hut lives
every
on,
day.
virtually
the
and
hut.
otherwise.
Every second, every minute. I miss that hut every day.
Patrick figured that he also needed to put the thingamajig and the doohickey into the thingamajig.
I won't touch that one.
Don't forget the whatchamacallit.
Yeah. I'm hungry for a whatchamacallit now.
All right, folks.
Oh,
What's
Scott.
up, guys?
Oh, Scott.
good evening, sir.
Look, dude, I didn't know what those comments meant, so I was just kind of shooting from the hip,
Yeah,
flying
yeah.
off the cuff a bit, and I was like, well, I don't know if he means like, I'll come on and talk to you right now, and so we're Cthulhuing it out here. I'm tentacling the whole, managing everything, and thank you for being here, Scott.
No,
I
it's
don't
all
win.
good, man. Yeah, no, like I was just enjoying your guys' talk. Nice Friday night, nice week away from work.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, actually, I meant like, oh yeah, maybe next time. And then you sent me that DM, and I'm like, oh, shit.
I didn't know
Okay.
what to do. I'm like, you're all super engaging in the comments, and then you're like, I'd love to talk about this with you guys. I'm like, well, I guess
There we go.
we're doing this.
I don't
But
know, man.
Scott-
It's like it's been so like I don't know, reserved and kind of reclusive. So
You too?
lately over the last like 4 or 5 months, and so when I saw you
Yeah.
doing this, I was like, hey, I should. I don't know. It felt natural almost to talk to you guys about this stuff too.
That's awesome.
So I was like, man, I wish I was actually sitting there with like a horn of mead and talking to Patrick and Jesse because Anyway, so thanks for inviting me. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Happy to have you here.
Well, thank you for
Thanks for joining us.
gracing us with your presence. For everybody that doesn't know, Scott Shell is a heathen himself. He's a Saxon heathen, but also has some academic background in linguistics and the Germanic languages. He has a great YouTube channel himself. It's listed here. Scott T. Shell, Germanic Beliefs and Religion. So do be sure to subscribe on YouTube. He runs the Daily Havamal Facebook page on Facebook if you're watching on Facebook. But yeah, it's interesting, Scott. Like you popped in pretty active when stuff about runes came up, and I'm over here like, well, we got a runologist. At least I think that's accurate to say.
No, it is. Yeah, no, I am a runologist. So I have a PhD in Germanic linguistics, and my dissertation was focused on runology. So I'm really like a runologist, but runologist is already a problematic term anyway, because it's kind of like this interdisciplinary field. So, but I'm a runologist, but I'm a runer through and through is the title I guess I prefer. There's heathen, but then there's like a runer,
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
So with what we were talking about earlier, because we had Michael, I think, asking about specific
Sacred spaces.
runes for consecrating or sanctifying
Yeah.
sacred space and that sort of thing. And I'm sure you heard kind of as I was talking through a response to that, at least from my angle. What would you have to add to that, being here now live?
Yeah, I mean, like I was just saying, Michael, it kind of depends on what your intent is. So, if you're going to, in my opinion, okay, so this is me speaking as a practitioner, not as an academic, a different hat. So, as a practitioner, I would say if it's something very aggressive and something that's meant to be very permanent, I would go with really like a hammer working. And if I wanted something that's sort of, like when I do Mother Night or when I'll do like a midsummer ritual or, whatever, I'll typically do something like an Elhaz working. It's kind of, or algae, as you said, yes, the Elhaz and algae are the same thing, same word. So I might do something like that. So you could use algae of runes in that sense.
Yeah.
There's also something where you could use like a hail working or a Hagalaz working, if you will. That's something a little bit more transparent. I mean, if I were going to do something like that in Hagalaz, the H ring for Michael, if you're going to use something like that, the intention I think is more of a mutual understanding really, of powers coming in and powers going out. So that's why I said it kind of depends on what your intention is. I mean, I've done all of these, so it just depends on, again, if you need to be super aggressive or not.
So would Hagalas be more of an aggressive approach to Sacred Space then? It's a difficult question because I always assume Hagalas to be a more formidable rune whenever being drawn for a reading. So I was curious about how it applies to Sacred Space.
Yeah, I mean, so Hagalaz is, of course, so Hagalaz would be more of a rune, I guess, that's very aggressive. I can understand that from like the rune poems because it means hail. It means destruction, right? It's a sort of like very powerful rune that you want to use to keep things out. The way that I use it is a little bit biased. Like I said, that's why I'm talking about as a practitioner here.
Of course.
In the sense that it's more of this back and forth sort of exchanging of energy, and it's predicated on an older Germanic idea of what the Hagel rune meant, as far as like this all-encompassing Hagel rune. So I'm not talking about H as much as I'm talking about like the star shape. So, yeah, I mean, but again, that's just my personal practice with that, and that's how my organization uses that working as well. But if I need to be super aggressive, I would just use a Thor, or a hammer working. Yeah.
When you say the star shape, Scott, I'm just wanting to clarify for listeners and viewers.
Sounds younger.
Huh?
Sounds younger. Yeah.
Right, like the Hagel rune as we see it in later runic inscriptions, right? The Hagel rune in like Younger Futhark.
Yeah, you do see it in the Younger Futhark, but you also see it actually even in the Elder Futhark and some of the oldest inscriptions, like the Björkatorp runic inscription, dated to 700. It's like, so you do see it.
When did so I mean the traditional Hagel rune or Hagalaz rune, like we see, it's like a it looks almost like an H.
Give me a second.
A Latin H. When did that? So you're saying that that star shape kind of rune that appears in some runic inscriptions from like 700 of the Common Era, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah.
So like right around the time when. Or right before the Viking Age kicked off.
It's called the transition period between elder and younger. Yeah.
Yeah. When did that, or why do you? I'm trying to formulate the question. Hagel, as we know it, the Hagalaz rune that looks kind of like the H is definitely Elder Futhark, but you're saying that star shape formation appears at a time that is in a transition period. The star shape versus that hard almost H kind of.
Yeah, you do see that star shape. Let me be clear, I guess. So, yeah, you do see that star shape being used as a rune, but in the transition period, it's actually meant for a J. So technically, the sound is a little bit different, but you do see the Hagalaz rune being used in inscriptions from around like 700, 750 CE. So J
as in like my name, like the J sound of
no, J as in like year,
like a year, like so the sound.
Year, yes, exactly. Yeah, Patrick.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, it's
so it didn't create the phenom of a ha sound. It created a more of a yeah sound.
It actually ended up in that period it ended up being used as a yeah sound. Yeah, but you do see that shape pre-Younger Futhark, I guess, is what we could take away from this conversation. Yeah, you do see that. Yeah.
Here we go. I got it.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
Yeah, it reminds me of
Northern Magic, isn't it?
Yep, that's correct. I have a book that has the Younger Futhark as the go-to. I'm more partial to the Elder Futhark as far as practicing and all that, but that's just my personal practice.
No, I love Northern Magic. It's great.
Shinny on YouTube says that they figured their information was missed. This was a comment that was referenced earlier as the Alyi's rune being a rune of harvest, but I questioned it because I hadn't heard of the associations between the Alyi's or Elihaz rune and anything to do with harvest. So they're just clarifying, and they were thinking of the rune Yera.
Sounds like it.
But I've seen them both represent harvest. Scott, have you ever seen the Elihaz rune?
No,
anything associated to harvest?
It's just wrong. That's it. It's
It could be a modern conjecture of.
I mean, yeah, okay.
Neo-pagan, who knows? But
yeah, it could be a modern conjecture. Historically, as a runologist, there's no connection between algaes and harvest at all.
Okay, I didn't think so. Michael was responding here, says that if he had to put my intent fully into words, something that is not aggressive per se, but something more to keep uninvited entities and people out, looking more for the human aspect, is Michael's comment. Back to the rune incorporation of warding.
Oh no, god damn it, motherfucker, son of a bitch.
You're good, Patrick. You're just on a black screen.
God damn it, son of a bitch.
Here we go, guys. It's all right, Patrick.
What happened?
I don't know. Let me just mute him for a second. Well, maybe not. But okay, so to Michael's point, if we're talking about runes in the application of like he's talking warding sacred space or sanctifying space, and his approach is not so aggressive, something more to keep the unwanted. Yes, we can hear you, but we can't see you. Sorry, guys. It's just a technical.
The audio is all fucked up right now. Can anyone hear me?
We can hear you.
We can't see you.
Hold on. So Scott.
Yeah.
With Michael's.
Michael. So I'm gonna be straight with you, man. Like Jesse was actually saying earlier, in a sense, if you can find someone who's more of like a runer, somebody who's really working with runes, you're gonna get more out of this. So, but okay, something that I would, as far as something that's not so aggressive. You can just use the default, if you will, historical Elhaz or Algiz rune. So what we see in the Old English rune poem, for example, let's back up for a second. So we have the Old English rune poem, and this rune poem tells us which each of the runes mean, right? Not just a sound, but kind of the concept and what they represent. And with the Elhaz rune in Old English, we see that it only attacks someone if they grasp it first. So it's elk sedge, essentially. And so when you grasp it, then it harms someone. So in this sense, maybe something with Elhaz could work. But again, I would recommend maybe you find someone who has been using runes for a while or is dedicated to runes. But hopefully that does answer your question.
Thank you, Scott.
Sure.
So Scott, I love your videos. Speaking older language, can you recite some writings for us live, or recall a toasting that I heard you do once on YouTube about the ancestors? One of my favorites.
No problem, Michael. I don't recall a toasting that I heard you do once on YouTube about the ancestors. I don't know. I mean, I could, but
If
I'd
you
rather.
if you were to be sitting
Yeah.
around Stumble right now, Scott, if you were to be at in a Stumble and you wanted to give just a brief bayit or hailing to the ancestors, maybe something, I don't know. I'm just trying to maybe inspire.
Trying to think. There was one actually that I did not that long ago. Trying to remember what it was. Let me double check here. Is that yes. Okay, sure. Why not? But you know what? You guys better donate money to Jesse for this. All right, here we go.
Hey, look, I didn't say it. He did.
I freaking mean it.
I didn't
right.
look. I didn't make this happen. This was a choice that you made, but you heard
Yeah.
the man.
Yeah. All right. It's Old Saxon. Maybe this is the one you're thinking of. I don't know, but Fakla odra fakla så samo så fara odra brennet som makten I menen en modemuses kunjes. Brennet berslikon in tym barnum ter fjör so we heliat in this som hemo usa helido Jesus. There you go. At least give him $1. So what that means in English is a torch to another torch as a token lights. So it's a torch lighting another token, like Havamal, a torch burning another torch for conversation. That stanza. So a torch to another torch is a token lights, like the might and main in the minds of our kin, brightly within the bairns, the children, burns this fire as we heal in this home our heroes' spirits. So I don't know if that's exactly the one.
That sounds eerily familiar, Scott, from when you and I were on our podcast.
I think so. Yeah, I think that was the verse we did.
I wanted to call attention to the poetic, the skaldic meter that this is spoken in.
Yeah.
So this is a skaldic meter.
Well, it's Old Saxon, so it's
Saxon,
not old.
but
Yeah, it's in very old Germanic meter. Yes, it actually predates Skaldic.
Right. So what I mean is, I guess, and forgive me for the naming, but it reminds me of that Skaldic meter where we see certain inflection.
Yeah, alliteration.
Better. Alliteration. Thank you.
Yeah, like a torch to another torch is a token. So you see 10 terrible Tuesdays. T. Yeah. So it's in traditional Germanic meter. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a beautiful delivery. So thank you for.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
Sharing that. I think I don't know. Like languages to me have always been. I love to hear either native speakers or people that have learned a secondary language well enough to speak it well. I'm not an expert, but I think just from my minimal knowledge, I mean, the way that you speak Old Saxon is spoken well.
Sure, thanks.
Say that.
Yeah. Hey, Patrick's back. He's in chat there.
Okay, good. Patrick is here.
He said Loki couldn't help himself.
He says I'm says know that Tiwaz represents Tyr and Yggdrasil. Question mark. I'm going to put there because that's an interesting take. But what else does it mean for most people who don't know about? So I mean, Scott, you're the runologist, you're the runer man of the hour for the moment, but for my interest, for my take on it, the Tyr Tiwaz, it's one of the three runes in the rune poems that even mention a god or god in anything. It's like I know a lot of people in modern times like to associate certain runic symbols with deities, but in the old rune poems, Tiwaz, Ingvaz, and Onsus are the only three runes that have any attestation or connection to any sort of divinity. right? So Tyr, Tiwaz, Tu, right? All these words cognate to the Old Germanic sky god, that sort of thing, right? But what is the Yggdrasil?
Yeah, no, there are several. Grab Patrick real quick. He's actually trying to join back in.
Yeah, let me get him.
All right.
Let me get his link, but you can go ahead and.
Oh yeah. All right. So I know Tiwaz represents Tyr and Yggdrasil. I mean, arguably Yggdrasil, I guess, but what else? So yeah, okay. So Tyr does represent a rune, of course, in the younger Futhark poem, and so the thing is that a lot of people, you know, when they talk about Tyr, they try to talk about him as a sky god, and there's little evidence for it, at least if we stay within the local tradition. But one thing that I do like to point out that here you go, nobody ever talks about is the was so Tyr in its Proto-Germanic form was borrowed into the Finnish language back in Proto-Germanic times. Now this is important because when that word Tiwaz got borrowed into the Finnish language, we see exactly what that rune name meant, right, in Finnish. And what it actually meant was the heavenly god. Himmlischer Gott is sorry, I'm thinking in German, but it's the heavenly god. And so we do have direct evidence right there that in the Finnish language, because again, this word Tiwaz was borrowed into Finnish language, that we see that it meant the heavenly god. So maybe that's something extra, I guess I could give you there for Tyr. I'm not sure about Yggdrasil, though. I've never really associated Tyr with Yggdrasil.
Yeah, me either. Which was a curious point to take, you know. So like when I think anything to do with Yggdrasil, if I were to, off the top of my head, try to associate a rune with that, it would be Elhas. Right? Not Elhas, sorry. Ehwaz.
The one rune that nobody knows how to pronounce. Yeah.
I'm trying to remember your video, Scott, damn it.
No.
Scott, damn it.
I meant that was completely joking.
So here's the thing. You have Ehwaz, which looks like the English Latin letter M, but it's Ehwaz. But then you have Ehwaz, I think, right? Am I correct?
Do you want the real answer here? And
I want the answer that you
Patrick
gave me in the video months ago that I'm trying to tell people how to pronounce runes the right way. So yes.
All right. So I'll tell you the linguistic perspective as far as what it's supposed to sound like, even though nobody ever says it this way. And thank you again, Patrick. He's showing us both runes that we're talking about. So, all right. So nobody really, I will say nobody knows 100% for sure. Okay. So, Patrick, can you hold up the first rune?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, give me a second.
Thanks.
Because I've seen that misconception too when I've learned about the runes.
So this rune right here is the one that everyone has an issue pronouncing. So my school of thought is A as in ash. Ahwaz is how that's pronounced. I'm not going to get into the arguments. Your audience is not a linguistic audience. So, but based on the articles that I have seen, I am convinced that first one was ash, apple, ahwaz. This one right here is it has to be a short E as in exit or explode or entrance or equus, which is exactly cognate to that word equaz in English, or I'm sorry, in Proto-Germanic. So it's actually just a short E. Equaz.
Oh, you got it.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's the really short answer. I don't want to dwell on it. So
Yeah.
you have those two sounds, you know.
Right. So like so when we see the Ahwaz or the first one that he posted in runic inscriptions, what sound does it represent? It's conflicted, right? We don't we
It is
see
conflicted,
right.
but the argument that I come from, which is Elmer Antonsen, he's a phenomenal linguist, is that the earliest inscriptions suggest that rune was to represent the sound ash. But yes, later on we do see that it doesn't have any phonetic value at all, and then we also see that later on it even has like a ch consonant sound. But based on the arguments I've seen, I think that it's probably ash as an apple. Oh, you're muted, Jesse.
Loki, you can sit this one out, dude.
Oh yeah, man, you're muted now. I can't hear you.
I'm multitasking here. I'm touching on multiple various things.
It's contagious.
I'm doing the best I can here, man.
It's contagious,
right.
Jesse. You have what I had, so yeah. Sorry.
Well, that's the thing. So Tiwaz. So to Dee's comment, right? Tiwaz, as he says, was an original German sky god before Wodenaz. Case in point, I don't think Wodenaz was ever, at any point in time in Germanic beliefs, seen as a quote sky god. Here represents justice, honor, fairness. I think that has what has become through Scandinavian literature later on as a representation of justice because of the lore, right? Because of him giving of his hand for the greater good of the tribe. It's not what's good for me, it's what's good for all. That sort of fairness, justice, very honor-driven mentality. But to the point of what you were talking about before earlier, Scott, with the correlation or the understanding of this sky god, heavenly god thing. To say that, I think it's probably, and Scott, maybe you can clarify or correct. I think if anything, that Tiw was the primary chief, quote unquote, chief god of the Germanic peoples before Wodenaz came into the picture from Indo-European roots. And if you want to talk on that, or correct me, then there you go.
Not really, honestly. I don't want to really correct you either. I mean, I just
well, if I'm saying something, yeah.
No, you're not. I mean, I've heard that before. I'm more of the opinion of a henotheistic view. Okay, so what this means, because you have a lot of people talking about polytheistic religions right now versus monotheistic. I prefer the term henotheistic. Let me explain why. It's basically polytheistic, except I say, in my case, for example, I am very true when I work with Odin. I acknowledge everything about Tyr and Freya and Balder and so on and so forth, but what I work with primarily is Odin. And so that's more of a henotheistic religious approach. Like I am a man of Odin, if you will, something like that. And so I'm wondering, maybe instead of it just being almost homogenous with Tiwaz, if rather there were just pockets of people who henotheistically believed in Freyr, in Odin, in Thor. I mean, because why would a farmer really sacrifice to Odin? It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't, and I think, I don't know if you were around earlier when we kind of touched a little bit about this, where I think it was Dean themselves here in the comments that said that this quote unquote patron god mentality is very monotheistic and influenced by Christianity. I came back in a response and said that I think that we see examples throughout history where while the populace was in a belief, and I use the term polytheist to describe it, as they believed in multiple gods, multiple goddesses, but that we do see historically that there were cults of this god thing or the other, right? We see the Swedes tend to be more Freyr, cults of Freyr. We see I think maybe the Danes or the Norwegians, where there were cults of Odin. But we also see historically that the cult of Odin tends to be more focused on by the aristocracy, the elite, whether they be warrior or governmental elite people at the time, right? Those Odin, Woden, whatever, that was the god of the aristocracy.
Yeah, definitely. The skalds and the poets. Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
So,
and of course the kings. Yeah.
Right, royalty, nobility, that sort of thing. So, with you being the man you are, and the focus in your heathenry that you've adopted, it kind of aligns with kind of what you were saying with being an Odin's man. You have this academic knowledge background, but you also have a pretty skaldic and poetic air about you when it comes to the linguistic sides of things. So that kind of tracks, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, it does. I mean, yeah, the linguistics and the scholarly stuff, particularly a very, very obvious, strong attraction to runes and whatnot. But that's not to say, for example, I wouldn't go to an event where, I've been to these events, for example, where like Thor is their sort of deity that they're honoring. And it's actually a really interesting experience because I sort of take a back seat to it. You know what I mean? So it's like I go there and I honor Thor with them. But at the same time, I'm almost in this like observer role because I'm really more of an Odian. So, and there is a difference between an Odinist and an Odian.
Please. Yeah, true, dude.
I just wanted to make that clear.
Yeah.
So
100%. And interesting that topic comes up with these comment with Ig means the terrible one, doesn't it? I think Ig and so go ahead.
Well, it's actually Igor, but it's YGGR. Yeah.
Yeah. So we see like Yggdrasil, right? The
Yeah. Sorry.
Like
so like Ig as an Yggdrasil. Yeah, Ig means terrible, or just in the like normal noun form, it's just YGGR. But yeah.
So he says, when they call on my farmer asked to join in battle for the community, I bet I'd be making offerings to Odin, but as a country boy, I'd refer more to Thor and call him my patron.
All right. That's great.
I mean, Thor look like war is such an interesting concept. Like, I mean, yes, they are war gods, I guess, like from a cultural perspective, like, over time we see, the Aesir being the war band tribe of that, those cultural deities. I mean, Thor can kick some ass, but he also doesn't have the brain for war. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah, no, I hear you. Yeah, well, I mean, he's the warrior function, right? So you have the warrior function, which is Thor, and then you have the Odinic function, which is the sort of Drochten, the kingship sort of role, and military leader, rather, is what I'm looking for.
General,
so you have that role where Odin is literally called a Drochten, or it basically is a military leader. So he is the one leading. He is if you guys are service out there, anyone listening to me, he is the officer, and Thor is the enlisted, in a sense, right? So
it's kind of that sergeant major, like.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You watch that old was that We Were Soldiers, like Mel Gibson, Sam Elliott playing those lead characters. You know the movie I'm talking about?
I don't. You
never seen We Were Soldiers?
Oh man, I haven't.
All right. Look, man, as a Odinsman, look, dude.
Yeah.
Like, you gotta watch We Were Soldiers, man.
That's like the running joke with me too. By the way, it's like anytime someone asks me, "Have you seen a movie?"
What's a movie?
I probably haven't.
Yeah, what's a movie even? Right?
Yeah.
But like, so Mel Gibson plays like he's the lead. It's a based on true story, based on fact, from Vietnam. But Sam Elliott, I know you know who Sam Elliott is.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the cowboy. He plays the quintessential, the sergeant major role. And here's the soldier walking by. Good morning, Sergeant Major. And Sam Elliott's character's response is, how do you know what kind of goddamn day it is, or something? That real crass, that real just, I'm gonna go in there, mess some shit up, and not gonna really think too much about it. It's that necessary.
Well, it is. Yeah, like I said, he has that warrior role. So yeah. So offerings to Odin. Of course, you would make offerings to Odin for victory, but as a country boy, relate more to Thor. But Thor is generally, he is the average guy's man. He's supposed to be. He is also the one who's protecting Midgard, of course. As we also see through he can also be associated with rain and fertility as well.
Yeah, I wanted to call attention to the fact that the hammer that we are all. I mean, I wear it. I'm wearing it. You're wearing one.
I have one too. Yeah, I've had this for almost 20 years now. Actually,
the hammer, from like the lore, Thrymskeid, I think is the poem I'm thinking of, where Thor has to win his hammer back, and one of the things that's mentioned in that poem is that the hammer is brought out to bless a wedding.
Exactly.
It's not just for slaying Jotnar. It's for blessing and sanctifying.
Mm-hmm.
So to Scott's point, like this sanctification of sacred space, I think you mentioned earlier, doing a hammer rite. I think this particular rite, when we hear hammer rite amongst heathen or Germanic, Norse, pagan conversations, this topic does come up, and it tends to, I think, be highlighted in a very post-Christian or post, like, it happened at, like, we see references to the hammer rite or hammer blessing during
there are a couple different sagas, of course. You have the horn, of course, that's brought in, and you see the hammer signing being done over the horn. Of course, you see people that say, okay, well, let's put this into perspective. Before, basically, when the horn was brought in, there was a sign of a cross that was drawn over it, right? But then, another person had come in and they had drawn the sign of the Thor's hammer over top of it. And so, you could go back and forth and say, well, was that a genuine tradition or was it not a genuine tradition? I believe it actually was a genuine tradition. I mean, you could have both the hammer signing and the signing of the cross, if you will. And you also have various rune stones, of course, where you have, may Thor bless, right? May Thor bless this stone.
Thorvigi.
Thorvigi, exactly.
Which is an interesting thing. Like, I mean, syncretism being a thing, but like obviously with Christianity coming into Europe, I mean, it was in some places more than others, it was a pretty aggressive insertion of the concepts, right? And in the interest of probably a lot of political and other endeavors, I mean, kings took on the idea, some easily more than others, I think. But the fashion of what a hammer looks like, or at least what the historical symbol of Mjolnir looks like.
You actually, so Jesse actually has a historical one. I don't. So, he does. Yeah, that's I think from Denmark, actually.
Yeah, so it's very reminiscent of what later the Catholics were doing as the sign of the cross. I mean, you can, if you were Håkon in Norway, right? Håkon the good Christian king of Norway, right? And you wanted to, bless something and do the sign of the cross. You could do the sign of the cross, but also be like, well, this is actually the sign of the hammer, guys. Like, this is.
Yeah, exactly. That's basically what happened with that saga with Håkon. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Moving on, so D says, as an animistic heathen, I put more emphasis on the ancestors than the gods. but in lore, early writings, isn't there more instances of the quote minor gods like Lanvitir, Huldafok, than the higher gods? So I think, I mean, and Scott, you got, miles under the tires with stuff like this too. I think when it comes to local spirit veneration, right, the Lanvitir definitely plays a role of importance in Scandinavian beliefs. I mean, we have the Lan Namavok, we have other sources that do reference the importance that local folklore placed on appeasing and maintaining good relationships with the Landvetir, the Landvetir, the localized land whites. When it comes to working with venerating and stuff, quote unquote higher gods, we're talking, I think, the difference between like sacred and profane space. So much of what we have retained in terms of documented sources shows a communal tribal approach to the gods veneration. There's not really a whole lot that we have that exists, I think, in written sources that show an importance on day-to-day smaller family unit veneration of, as you would say, the higher gods. The gods were venerated through bloat with everybody, and then those sources that we have documented and retained in source material reflect that. Scott, do you want to add anything to that or embellish on that at all?
Well, you are right. I mean, we don't see a whole lot of instances of bloat to very specific deities. We have things like Disa bloat, which of course is the sacrifice of the noble women or the noble goddesses. We have Alva bloat, which of course is the bloat of, I personally think it's the male ancestors.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you have, let's see, Disa bloat, Alva bloat. Man, you just open up a folklore book, you're going to find everything and anything dealing with people going to particular rocks to please trolls, dealing with particular ponds or lakes, dealing with water spirits called in Swedish, I think it's the sjör, skogs, actually. Yeah, it's sjör, I think. But you see like the skogskra, for example, in Swedish too, which is like the forest spirits. So you see all kinds of different references to just trying to build a very intimate relationship, relationship with all of these different spirits. And you see less and less really of like building specific intimate relationships with the gods. It's not to say that you shouldn't, you should, but I do wonder. I mean, when I see, when I do cross comparisons or analyses of different religions, how it's actually more challenging and more difficult to communicate directly with a god. It's actually very challenging. So,
yeah.
I would say start with your landscape and start local and start trying to build relationships with those smaller things, those smaller spirits, which are there, which are actually being ignored, start there, build relationships with them, and then build up from there. It's not just a straight, I'm here, Odin's, up in the sky, whatever. It's like you should really start building relationships more local level. I mean, so
I don't think that
I'm kind of ranting, but hopefully I answered.
Well, I don't think that from what source material we have to go off of, and I think what we can safely deduce, at least up to this point in time, is that the interaction between individuals and the gods, right? The sacred, was limited to the actions of heroes that have been retained in the sagas, right? you might see some, like you mentioned Alfreblot, right, which was very specific to, I think, the Swedes.
Yeah, yeah.
And there was one saga which I can't remember the name the name of the saga, but there was a Christian like skald or poet or somebody under the retinue of the king who was traveling, and he was looking for shelter, he was looking for hospitality, and he approached several homes of residents at the time who were in their Alfreblot tradition, and this man who was seeking hospitality, seeking shelter, who under any other circumstances may have found it, was refused it. In particular, this one home that he approached was told to go away, you Christian man, we are heathens and we fear the wrath of Odin. Was one translation that I saw, and I don't remember the name of the saga, but this is an example of the importance that the people of that culture placed at the time of, we need to keep true to our insular traditions, and if you're outside of that, you got no business being here. Figure it out yourself. You're not welcome. Bye.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
That it's a very intimate, personal thing.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I do believe. Yeah, I mean, I believe those relationships are very important on a sort of I don't want to say, like you're saying, minor. What was it?
Minor gods, like the Landvatir minor gods.
I mean, they're all very important. And each relationship is going to require a great deal of work.
Yeah, and I think so much of that goes back to our individual cultic practices, our hearth cults.
It does.
It's like I'm not going to sit here and tell Scott that his hearth practices are wrong or incorrect in like fashion. I don't think Scott would sit here and do the same to me or anyone else. It's because those things, the way that we've either through our individual those individual cultic practices, the way that we've developed relationships with our divine powers, that is our hearth cult, and that is sacred to us, and that's what we're going to do, and damn everybody else that says differently. We've
damn right, actually, damn right. And the thing is too, is that what I would point out is that, look, you guys, I understand we want to be historically accurate, excuse me. I totally get that. Okay, like Jesse said, I am an academic, I'm a PhD, so if I want to sit here and argue all day, I'll just stay at a university. So that being said, what works for you and what doesn't? So try something. If it works for you, incorporate it. If it doesn't work for you, what are you doing? I mean, that's my approach anyway. So it's like, because you run into a lot of these communities where it's like, well, that wasn't historically accurate. This is historically accurate. I will try the things that are historically accurate, but if nothing resonates, I'm not going to waste my time.
Right. And I've done the same thing. I mean, when it comes down to it, one of the things that I like to reflect back on is, people that ask, well, how should I do this? How should I do that? And a lot of the times it comes from folks who are very insular, but also solitary with their practices. They don't have a tribe. They don't have a kindred. They don't have a group of people to practice with. But one of the things I always go back to is what the ancient Germanic society was built around was, what was Thu? What was law? Well, the law was what the tribe's Thu was, right? So if the Cherusci did things a certain way, well, then that wasn't the same as the Chadi. You know what I mean?
Right.
And if you broke law under Chadi lands, right, you were subject to the whether it was Weregild, Shield, whatever the case may be, you were subject to the ramifications, the response to the breaking of law of what you broken under, I think. Or was it the other way around? If you were a Ute, right, and you went to I don't know, somewhere else, and you broke a law, like you were subject to the Utish.
Yeah, no, you were. In fact, I was catching up on Egil Saga today, and yeah, I saw just that. Eyal went back to Norway, and he was subject to Norway's laws.
Norway's laws.
Yeah.
So it's a very you know, the society was different at the time. Like we're modern heathens, we're modern folk, and we're looking at old ways in modern times. And you know, one of the things that came up earlier during the stream, Scott, before you joined, was the Berserkergang, and how it fits into heathen culture. And I mentioned, like, I don't think heathen culture means anything really, because you've got different practices culturally that happened in different countries at different times. So to say heathen culture is a bit oxymoronic, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, there may be some nuance and there's similarities, but
I mean, yeah, there are nuance. I mean, I think you'd probably have people say like, "Oh, but there are core heathen values," you know, and they could talk
Right.
about those core heathen values. But yeah,
so to say,
no, it would change. You know, it would definitely differ from tribe to tribe, from family to family. Yeah.
yeah, and you would be subject to the laws of the, you know, who you were with, who were you associated with, right?
Yeah.
You broke law under that tribe, so you're gonna have to take it up with them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Dita says, I've heard Thor's hammer is related to the heartbeat and rhythm of the earth and life itself. Is there any older language that backs that up in the meanings? Older meaning to the hammer. Older meanings to hammer or Thor.
No, but that's pretty poetic.
Yeah, it is. It's almost like a kenning. Or
Yeah, I
there's,
haven't heard anything tied to the heartbeat,
Yeah.
but it is poetic. Yeah.
so Dee has mentioned animism, or animist, as him being, or their being an animistic heathen. One of the things that I recently talked about just this week's podcast episode was about animism and the belief that everything has life. There is life, there is soul, there is spirit, there is some there everything contains spirit. So I understand the question coming from an animistic view, and maybe trying to correlate these types of things to an animistic perspective or an animistic view, you know.
Yeah, I mean, this animism thing that's very trendy right now really is very, I don't even know. It's like it's thrown around so much. People don't even know what the hell they mean when they say animism. You know, it's like, oh,
we
is it the
talked
belief
about that.
in spirits? Yeah, we did, right? You know, is it the belief in spirits? Are you an animist just because you believe in spirits? I mean, it seems kind of shallow. Let me elaborate. So you have this 19th century sort of Victorian notion of like, what is animism? Animism is the belief in spirits. Well, okay, that's coming from a very Christian perspective, by the way, in the 19th century. But the thing is that, you know, it's more than that. It's more than just the belief in spirits. It's really about creating a relationship with the spirits.
Yeah.
When you start doing that, you start putting in the work, you're going to notice some differences. You're going to notice, again, you know, this is my personal practice. Not even just me, though. I have very close friends that practice this way too. You're going to notice those differences, and you're going to want to keep those connections, and you'll learn to listen and talk. You know, and it's a very interesting way of looking at animism, in the sense of, like I said, with creating these relationships rather than just believing in these relationships. And this is not me. There's a great book called Contemporary Animism, which basically surveys what is animism from the 1800s to the present time, and they talk about all these different approaches. You know, so hopefully, maybe that does help. You know,
Does
people here? But
yeah, does the animism? So you're saying the what's the name of the book again? Sorry.
I can find it.
Contemporary?
Actually. It's like contemporary. Actually, let me just Google it, because it's contemporary animism.
Well, what's
It's
interesting is you're, like you mentioned, like contemporary animism, and then you gave like a date, which is like
Yeah.
relatively
Oh
speaking,
yeah.
very new.
It is very new.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I think that like
It's the
animism.
handbook. It's the handbook of contemporary animism. I'll put it in chat if anyone wants to take a look at it.
Yeah. But obviously, the animistic concepts are way older than that. The 1800s, obviously, you know.
Oh
like,
no, they are.
We got to a point where somebody like decided to author publish.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's not. It's just that in the Western view, right?
Yeah.
Because when you think about it biblically, there's not really much animism there. I don't, and I say this as somebody who has been translating in Gothic the Gospels for the last, oh my God, I don't know how many years for Gothic and Old High German and Old Saxon. I look at these Gospels in the original language. There's no animism there.
From the Halion,
there's from the Halion, from the Wolfilian Bible. It's everything is just kind of like actually poo-pooing animism of any sort. It's this sort of like weird material thing here on Earth. So no, you're right, Jesse. Animism has been around for a very long time, and we're almost like rediscovering it in the 19th century as saying like the belief in spirits. And then we transition into the relationship with these spirits, and how do we build relationships with these spirits, and so on and so forth.
I think that's the important
Germanic. The Germanic religion was very animistic. I don't understand when people say it wasn't. I don't understand it at all. I mean, it's very clearly animistic.
Well, some of the pushback that I've seen from some is that how nature was perceived in the like when we talk about animism, like everything has spirit. There is spirit in the trees, the river, the lake, the ocean, the this and that. I think some of what I've seen has been that like pushback from like the animal spirit, like trying to find equivalency to like maybe
like
indigenous
Native
animal totems. Yeah, like indigenous
animal
totems.
Yeah,
and this and that, and how like the Germanic people didn't have that concept of like I'm associated with a bear or the wolf.
I see.
These were seen as.
It's also very weird because, of course, if you read into the folklore, even in some of the sagas, you see that people have these, bear spirits, if you will. It's like their fylgja, right, which is shaped by the hammer or something like that, and they have like, but it's still a little bit different,
Very different.
But yeah, I do see, yeah, exactly. So yeah, I do see what you're saying.
Yeah, and like so like to say like I feel the spirit of the bear, like that's my philia, this or that. I mean, again, my philia, and this is UPG. I'm not trying to like push.
You know what? I want to say this very strongly. Equally as important. Please go ahead.
Yeah, my philia has been the heron, the great blue heron of North America, which I mean is seen in different areas of our country. But I mean, like that's what I have discovered really as philia, and for multiple reasons. I think from source material, we tend to see philia as being mostly feminine, or at least mostly represented in feminine form, but also taking animal form. But I mean, so like my native ancestry being Algonquin, the heron manifesting itself in the ways that it has for me, it's like it was a game of connect the dots there for a little bit. Like, oh yeah, this is a marsh bird. Algonquin were marsh people. My Dutch ancestry, were of course. I mean, in if you go across the pond, right? You go across the Atlantic, where the Dutch were to where they settled. It was largely uninhabitable, unworkable farm agricultural land because it was so marshy.
Right.
So there's a connection there, and for me, like that's, but I don't draw too strong conclusions of like this is different cultural things. Like it's not an animal totem per se. It's
No, yeah, it's not an animal.
the follower, which is what philia means, right? And it's just your follower, is connected to a female ancestor who occasionally will manifest herself.
And it's really in its totality. I mean, it's really connected to your entire soul complex. You know.
Yes.
I mean, you know,
yeah, it's
you have
part of it.
Yeah, exactly. It's part of it.
Because the soul, we say soul complex as a term, but it is complex, right?
It is complex.
You know, you have your philia. Oh, so you have your Haminga. You have your your Hammer.
Your Hammer and
These is continuing, says that animism to me is a harmony with spirits, and living divine to me is all around us. The divine is all around us. Maybe not everything has spirit within, but a lot does. Forming those relationships helps me understand, and I think that's what we're collectively agreeing upon is not just the acknowledgement of spirit, but the effort to connect and build relationships, because they exist in what I think you talk about, maybe core heathen values, pre-Christian, right? The ideas of the sacred versus the profane.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, these animistic spirits, Landvitir, Uzbeld, or whatever you want to call them, they exist in profane space with us. They may not be tangible in the way that we are, flesh, bone, blood, voice, etc. Yet they still exist in what we would define as profane space and time, I think, right? We as humans are spiritual in nature, living together in the same space as other spirits. I guess that echoes the sentiment. And it's all about the relationships being reciprocal. That's always been an interesting thing for me too, in how maybe these ancient heathens perceived coexisting. I think they had a sense of inner and outer at the time to know, like, well, sure, we want to keep things kind of copacetic, like don't piss the Landvitir off, because then our crops are going to suck, fertility is going to suck, everything's going to suck on our day-to-day lives. So let's just keep them happy, right? Don't scare them, don't piss them off, don't.
No, of course, don't piss them off. Of course, also, with the Nissa, for example, you leave out porridge, in the wintertime. I mean, it's just all about not being a jackass and, just creating that very good personal relationship with these family spirits, with these farm spirits, and essentially everything that Jesse was just saying, the Landbiter, right? So it's, keeping very healthy relationships with them. So.
And they do, from my personal experience, like they do kind of run on their own scope of existence. I mean, like when it comes to the Landvitir, for me, at least in my area, while they exist in profane space that we know it, they don't fall under the construct of the societal order that we as humans seek to have. Nature is nature, and they do their own thing, and how we coexist and how we cohabitate fluctuates. I mean, sure, we can do things
does, and don't assume that every spirit wants to actually work with you.
Yeah.
So, they essentially, I mean, especially when working with ancestors, I mean, they were human beings too. So.
We talked earlier about that on this live stream, Scott, I think before you got here, talking about ancestor veneration and how far back do you go and this thing, that, or the other. And one of the things that came up was like, not all of our ancestors are, first of all, worth venerating and worth remembering. There have been nefarious and dastardly and people and villains for everybody, right? So just because an ancestor existed doesn't mean you should feed into that wellspring and
Yeah, no, I
giving
mean,
attention
exactly.
to
I mean,
that.
come on, let's be realistic. Let's put it into a realistic situation right now. Anyone who's listening right now, are you in a great relationship with your mother? I'm not. So,
Me either, bro. Me either.
so you
Case
know,
in point.
so, or how about your grandmother? Or how about your great grandmother? Or your father? Or your grandfather? Your great grandfather? Your uncle? Right? So, all of these relationships need to they need to be acknowledged, especially when you're trying to work with these particular things or these particular spirits. It's very hard, really. I mean, it's easy to go in and be like, oh, I did this working, and I gave the spirit something, and I went to work and everything was great, and then I came home and ate dinner. Like, it's very easy to do that, but it's actually very hard to try to build these relationships and get phenomenological feedback. Phenomenological in the sense that I did this thing. Am I getting any feedback in return? It's sort of like meta conversation
Yeah.
in a way. It's
Yeah,
really
are we just
important.
going through the motions thinking that we're like achieving some sort of checklist, Oh, ancestor
Exactly.
veneration. Well, let me
Yeah.
just, check the box and say that
All
I
right.
did
Well,
it.
that was cool. All right. Let me go see what's on Facebook now.
Right.
Yeah. So.
One last comment, and
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, that's okay. I was gonna say one last comment from No on YouTube. I like worshiping alone, but I need people to worship with and learn from. Can you help me with doing that? Where are you geographically? I think
Actually,
is
yeah,
a place to
that's a
start.
good question.
Yeah, like Scott, I don't know, like, and I've talked somewhat freely, not too revelatory, with our tribe here in Middle Tennessee, but the way that the tribe formed occurred through very organic means. It's not like one person or a group of people went out to try and recruit locals
Right.
of the
Yeah.
area. If you're taking an approach so aggressively to try to recruit people, I think that's a dangerous path to start down. I don't like the idea of recruiting people. I like the idea of having a vision, realizing the vision, living the vision, and then people that see what's happening are going to be the people that need to be a part of it will be drawn to be a part of it. They're going to see like this aligns with my values, my worldviews, these sorts of things. So to a degree, I think there is some obligation or responsibility to put oneself in a place of accessibility, right? Like, hey, this is me. This is what I'm doing. I'm looking for like-minded people. But again, there's this fine line of doing that versus going into this like recruiting mindset of let's get 10 people that it seems a bit forced. So the organic nature of building community, building building a SIB, a family unit, a tribe out of the community has to happen organically. So again, like starting with like where are you geographically would help you, I think, with that, because then you can maybe leverage such tools as social media and things to put some feelers out and get some feedback, right? Like, are there other people around here that have similar or close enough views of the world to go from there, right?
For sure. I mean, the big thing that I would say, I'd like to know your name. No, I'm going to call you John. So the big thing,
Sure.
I'm going to say to you, John, from Oklahoma, is that it's probably going to depend on whether or not you're more of a practitioner or more of a devotionalist. right? So they are very different. I want to stress that. So if you're more about devotion and, on every such and such day at such and such time, we all get together and we praise Thor, sort of thing, that's going to be a very different group than finding someone who is a runer, a rune master, a sort of runic practitioner, really a practitioner of magic in general. So that's the first thing that I would say that you want to probably look for. Are you looking to actually worship and be more devotional, or are you looking to be more practical and operative? So those are going to be two different, they're not mutually exclusive. I mean, I've been to events, for example, where it's full of devotionalist practitioners, and they've asked me to do something more operative. So, but that's hopefully it can help you at least start narrowing it down, figuring out if that's what you want to do, more of the worship route or more of the operative route.
Yeah, that's I think something that people should place attention on and put focus on.
Yeah.
Where do you land on things, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Obviously they want to, have experiences with people, which I think really aligns with what, to me, grassroots heathenry exemplifies is you can't experience certain things about this folkway without other people. You can't have Sumble by yourself. You can't do Bloat by yourself. You can't do certain things that are inherently heathen, right? Without other people. You can be a solitary
those big communal things. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you can do both.
Well, absolutely, and I think that's what it's about. It is both. I don't have tribal relations with my people on a day-to-day basis.
Okay.
We get together for certain holy tides. We have get-togethers. We do things on a regular basis with regards to that. And I am also an individual, and I am also practicing my individual cultic practices myself, right? So there's a blend.
You do, but maybe not everyone else who is a sort of devotionalist heathen might do that.
For sure, right? And again, I'm sharing my angle, right? Scott has
for sure.
your angle, and you're coming from devotional versus practitioner, right?
Yeah.
So Scott, do you think that the practitioner approach should encompass more of that communal aspect, and that's what a practitioner?
Me personally, if you're asking me for my personal opinion and how I practice, no. I'm just being honest. I think the devotional approaches and the operative approaches are very different. So,
okay.
Yeah, I mean that. But again, that's UPG, if you will. I mean, that's the way that I practice.
Yeah. Well,
but both are equally important. Let me tell you that. But again, it's like, I'll give you an example. There is a particular ritual, let's say, some sort of procession, and there is a procession involving Thor. Now, we're going to have maybe a Gothi of some sort. See, I'm not a Gothi. I will never claim to be. That's not my role. But we have a Gothi. We have the procession. The Gothi pulls me aside. Sorry, I'm choking. But the Gothi pulls me aside and says, we want to do X, Y, and Z with this particular ritual. Will you help us do that through runic magic? Absolutely. That's where I'm like, all right, let's do this. So we have the devotional processional. People are going with their horns, lining up, and we have Thor and praising Thor. But then behind the scenes, this Gothi talks to this rune master and says, we want to do this particular magical act thing that someone like A.L. Scott Grimson would be qualified to do. Will you do this? So it's I'm not saying like, we're all the same. I'm saying, no, we have like the people who are devotional with the processional, we have the Gothi, we have the rune master, so on and so forth. if that makes any sense.
Yeah, so like that kind of aligns with, like, yes, the Gothi being the sort of officiant or
Yeah. Yeah.
main guy or gal, right? The
Yeah.
Gothi Geethia, whatever you want to, genders
The
are
law speaker.
irrelevant. Yeah, right. The person in charge of the religious aspects of things.
Mhm.
However, they may leverage and employ the skill set of the Vitki or the Rune or whoever from the group
Yeah, I
to
mean,
incorporate things that maybe isn't their specialty, right? Like, hey, we want this to be a part of the ritual, so we're going to incorporate that, and we want you to.
yeah. For example, I was just rereading Ale Saga recently, and Ale goes to this house. There's this woman who is sick there, and they can't figure out why she's sick until eventually they figure out that what happened is that some farm boy had come and carved runes to help this woman get sick. Or I'm sorry, to help this woman get healed, to make her feel better. Well, it was actually making her feel worse. And so what Ale did is he found the whalebone with the runes on it, scratched them all off, and carved a different series of runes, and then she was miraculously healed. And then he follows up with a poem that basically says, hey, if you don't know what you're doing regarding rune magic, don't do it. Let me do it, since I am a man of Odin and I am a rune master. And then the girl was healed.
Yeah, isn't that the one of the famous lines where, like, if you ought not to carve runes unless you know them. I mean, it's more poetic than what I'm saying, but it's something.
Yeah, it's in Havamal as well. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mentioned that earlier too. Like, do you know how to carve? Do you know how to send? Do you know how to bless? Do you know how to read? Like,
exactly.
All these things. If you don't know how to do these things, then don't do it. And to your point, right?
Yeah.
And that's one of the most, I think, famous examples of rune magic being utilized and misused, and then here comes the runer, and like the guy that knows what he's doing. He has to come in, he has to fix the thing that was done before because somebody went in there and was just like, oh yeah, I know this rune, I know that rune. They just slapped it on a whalebone and said,
yeah, exactly.
Well, you did it wrong, sister. Like
you're making it worse.
Up.
Yeah,
making it worse.
So not sure what happened to Patrick there.
he had dropped off. He was calling it a night earlier.
Okay.
Look for a teacher. So I also dropped here. So for since you're in Oklahoma, there is a group that I'm familiar with, at least on Facebook, that covers the Arkansas, Texas, and Louisiana geographic locations. There may be some folks in there who can help with contacts in the Oklahoma area, since there are neighboring states. I posted that down there in the comments for you to check out. I actually have a podcast coming up here next month with the Geethia of the River Pine Kindred.
Dawn?
Amelia.
Yeah. Oh my God, Amelia's gonna murder me for saying that if she hears this. Yeah, Amelia. Okay, no, she's great. No,
yeah. I've had her. Like, I've had her on the podcast like years ago, and then without that call to action, like, hey, anybody wants to come on for season 5?
Yeah.
She emailed, and I'm connected to her through Eric Shervin.
Cool.
Out there.
Yeah, no, Amelia is great. That's awesome.
But so maybe check them out. Maybe they can help with Oklahoma contacts. Dee says you guys are great. Thanks for all you do. Get online, make conversation, and go to events. Build relationships. Beware of the bad types. Dee is in Dallas. Met kindreds in Georgia. Yeah, I mean, like, it's kind of an ongoing thing. I mean, especially when you're out here online. There's, Scott, like last time you and I got on a podcast and talked about stuff. I mean, like, there's that's a whole topic of conversation when it comes to sources and information and how it
You know,
gets
yeah, you're right.
identified, because like, oh well, somebody may be saying something factually correct, but because of their social or otherwise associations, they get discredited or totally
Yeah, you're
canceled.
right.
You know what I mean?
And then or John, as far as looking for a teacher, be careful. I mean, I don't know how I could help you if I could, but make sure you learn from someone who is going to teach you mostly objective information, someone who can distinguish between the objective information and the subjective information. Otherwise, you're going to run into gurus, and it just never ends well.
Yeah, we're in a place and time where people, I mean, it's so easy to just do stuff like we're doing right now and just put a camera in front of you and Google some stuff and claim to be an expert. I mean, I don't like to toot my own horn, but Scott wouldn't be on here. Scott wouldn't have been in the comments and talking and then have jumped on one of my live streams to talk about stuff if my reputation hadn't preceded itself. So I don't like to toot my own horn. However, I would like to say that if you're looking for information, as a teacher, I'm not a teacher, but consider subscribing to the channel. Follow me on my socials. Scott here is, I mean, I wouldn't have him on here if his reputation hadn't
randomly say in chat, "Hey, I should jump on and talk."
Oh yeah, let me just ping this guy, my live stream chat, and let him come on here and talk. Right? We talked earlier about Eric Shervin, the Ravens call. Eric has decades of practical grassroots heathenry experience. He was one of the key members of, if anybody knows, Lightning Across the Plains back in the day. He has background with that. He's a good guy. So Eric Shervin, the Ravens Call, Scott's channel, myself. There's others. I mean, if you follow any of us on our socials, you'll see stuff that we share that we have taken due diligence, I like to say, and been careful about sharing things that we want to be associated with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if you follow any one of us, definitely be careful. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to take away from Scott, and don't just follow what we're saying blindly, or any of us are saying blindly.
No, I would never say that.
No, but realize that what we talk about, what we share, what we suggest, comes from a place of a genuine interest to be genuine, first of all, and to share genuinely good knowledge. Things that if you take it from a practitioner's approach, your honor will be strong. Like you'll retain and you build your honor. So that's just my 2 cents. Few of the true and compassionate. Thank you for that, John from Oklahoma. We'll just go with Scott's.
Sure.
Scott busted out that language skill one last time.
Old Saxon. Yeah.
In the group as well. Amelia's a wonderful person. Yeah. Yes, great. Well, I hope that it helps. I am going to wrap this up because it's been actually almost 4 hours now that I've been streaming, and I've only taken one break.
Holy cow. All right.
But Scott, thank you for being so flexible, first of all, and being like present and just being like, yeah, let me hop on here and.
No, I like what you're doing, man. Exciting. I wish even more people would know when you're doing live streams and join in and ask questions and whatnot. But yeah,
they're free. They're infrequent because again, I don't have like a schedule for the live streams, but thankfully we got a good turnout tonight. Definitely
cool.
Glad for having you here to add some of the value to it. And Patrick Walsh especially, who was here for the first 2 hours of the stream, despite the technical issues and stuff, really offered a lot of important value. And we are streaming to his group, guys. So for everybody that's here on both the Midgard Musings YouTube channel and Facebook page, in addition to that, the Heilung spiritual community on Facebook, all of you guys that are stuck around and commented and added so much interesting dialogue. for us to talk about over the last nearly 4 hours. This has been a lot of fun. I've learned a lot and had a lot of good chats. So
yeah,
thank you all
cool.
for being
All right, Jesse.
Be sure to check out Scott's channel, guys. You guys go over there and subscribe.
I mean, I will. I'll have some more uploaded. I've just been kind of reserved and reclusive lately, just because I've been focusing.
Well, it's that time of year.
Well, yeah, but I've also been. I'm very active, but just more active in my local community. So, but more stuff coming. Yeah.
We'll look forward to seeing more from you, Scott, and thank you for everything that you do.
All right, Jesse. Yeah, thanks, man. If you ever want to have me come on, let's chat with you guys again, let me know.
We'll definitely do it. All right, guys. Everybody, be sure to check out my description for the Linktree link, all the ways that you can support the channel, and appreciate you for being here tonight and offering such great dialogue. Stay tuned next week for the next episode of the Random Heathen Ramblings podcast. We're going to have a friend of mine on here. It won't be streamed to the YouTube channel, but if you want to watch the video, you'll have to become a patron on Patreon. Otherwise, you can listen to it for free on Spotify and all the other audio platforms. All right. Thank you all so much for tuning in today. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, all the listeners, viewers, and supporters. May the gods continue to notice you. May the ancestors smile upon you. See you in the next one.